Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hunter Base Podcast for episode 50. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I'm your host of the most, Zeromaster, and back with me is the man, the myth, the legend, the OG, CanadianJutsu.
I started this with you, and I will continue it with you. How are you,
Knight, you have a mission to fulfill.
I don't know what that means, but cool.
And then you glow red and punch me.
Oh, okay. Is this a Tokatsu thingy?
It's
sorry. That's a
Tokatsu. A Tokatsu thingy.
Yes, you know where you stick your legs underneath that table thing and it warms your legs? That's that thing you like on Japanese television, right?
It's the karate bugman, as your friend would say.
Yes, yes. The delicious karate bugmen.
I'm just gonna, real quick. I know we're gonna hop into it. I'm gonna put this in the RCG server and see if anybody loses their fucking mind. So yes, why wouldn't they?
Why would they? I don't understand the question or the compliment.
So, for those of you who are just new to the podcast, since it's been revived with me and Mr. Up here, this is the original co-host, CanadianJutsu, aka CJ, and I decided it's not right to do the 50th episode of this podcast without the man who started it with me. You know what I mean? It's so I guess there's nowhere else to go with this except say, what's new and exciting in your life?
Exciting. I don't know about exciting. That is always just one of those big opening questions. Did you say, well, the most exciting thing that happened today was that I got out of bed this morning and I was feeling pretty good because I was going to do this podcast. How does that sound?
Were you actually?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I did wake up at 4 p.m. today. So, I didn't have a high bar to set at the very beginning of the day. But,
wow, you went to sleep right when I did my Honkai Star Rail stream. I can't believe you. I'm kidding.
I mean, I fall asleep to your stream all the time, every single time.
It's because I'm so
how I'm always
entertaining,
there. Right? Wow, look, there are definitely people.
I knew it. I knew as soon as I dropped that. Hey guys,
okay, yeah,
thanks for showing up.
So there are two familiar faces that I very much know. It's nice to see you guys chilling in chat. But yeah, well, I guess we will start with the exciting stuff. Not very much, actually. If you were to go back and listen to what I sounded like then, and now listen to what I sound like now, I probably sound a lot raspier, and I've been through hell and back. But all of things considered, well, yeah, think of it like I was thrown into that world of Elden Ring, and I was just given, a giant mallet and told, figure it out. That's pretty much the best way of explaining my life without getting into too much of a gory detail. I do work in the medical industry, so we all know there was something that happened in the recent past that has caused me to sort of step away from my YouTube stuff. And
nothing big happened.
No, nothing big. Nah.
It wasn't a pandemic.
But that's like I said, that's like the least interesting. It's probably interesting to some people, but it's the least interesting to me right now because this is a Hunter Base podcast. This is where we talk about video games and other things, and I don't get a lot of chances to talk about video games in my line of work. Everybody either plays phone games or is suffering from their own type of PTSD.
It's if I can just bring up one of our favorite peanut butter game lines, I play video games.
Yes, we play video games here. We don't talk about the other stuff that makes our minds go to mush.
Oh my goodness.
We experience those existential crises in our video games.
Oh my god, I don't know if God, there's so much to talk about. We were holding back, guys, in our pre-chat thing because there's I'm I want to talk about for example, I was I want to talk about Resident Evil 4, but I can't. I gotta wait and save it for the stream because I'm sure everybody wants to see you
See, that's the
the
thing. I've
reaction to
I've
mine.
not played the
Like,
remake yet, so I can't tell you
which is so
what
funny
is
to
the
me
difference.
because
Well,
like
that's,
you told me so much
dude,
like Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever and you need to
it
play it, and I
is.
was like,
It is.
okay.
It is. It's my favorite. It was one of my favorite games of all time. It's not my favorite. You all know that Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite, but
Hmm.
it's just one of those things where it's just a part of who I am on the internet. It's a part of who I like. It was my very first GameCube game too. Like I bought the GameCube with my first paycheck specifically to play Resident Evil 4 because
Yeah,
I love Resident Evil Nemesis so much.
I always forget that it was like that Resident Evil 4 was a GameCube exclusive for like a year. Like I always
Mhm.
forget that.
I think it
Like,
was more than that. I think it was like 2 or 3 years
was
because
it?
like the special edition on the PlayStation 2, like it came out a few years later, and it was like a terrible port because
I
they had to
yeah.
compress all of the Ada stuff into the same CD size. It was something
Wait, hold
awful.
on. Did they put just Assignment 8 or did they put the entirety of Separate Ways on the PS2?
Oh, separate. Oh, sorry, separate ways. I always forget. Simon Ada was in the original. It was separate ways that was added to the PS2 version.
Yeah. Yeah, One Roll, you are not seeing things. It's him.
I exist in this plane of reality. I have materialized through the portal of some Marvel universe,
I, I
and I'm
downloaded
here.
him onto my computer. I downloaded the
Yes.
computer today, guys.
The whole computer?
The
I
whole
am now the
computer.
whole computer. Excellent news.
Um, but yeah, no, there's just so much. Like, I think we were talking before. Like, the last time you guys would have seen us together live, I think was when we did Crystal Chronicles. Was back in 2020, like a
Mhm.
long time. Y'all thought
Yes,
my
it
parents
was.
were friends in school and finally met again after a while. Hey, that's what this is,
Yes,
Sab.
it
This is what this
is.
is.
Like,
So some of the new people like Sad, like you guys don't understand that like this guy's like my best friend. Like and we haven't
we have
spoken
known each other for most of our lives.
and we haven't spoken in the last 5 years just because of different things in our lives.
Mhm.
And so like this so when I was like episode 50, this is the perfect opportunity to like be like, "Hey, we should do this together." Like old times. Like the band getting back together. All the whatever other metaphor you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
use.
yeah. Metaphors of people, a reunion pass.
I think
But that's the thing. It's like the power of friendship is it
mhm,
really doesn't it doesn't really divide us. It just separates us every once in a while just because we live our lives, right?
because busy lives, anxiety, depression. That's basically the way I put it down to.
Equals life.
Because
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. Like every time I thought about messaging, I'm like, oh, he might be too busy. Maybe I shouldn't do this right now. And then I would sometimes not, and then I sometimes would, and then I'd be like,
I
oh,
tell
okay.
I tell you, I'm notorious for being the person that just either waits for people to message me or I'm too busy to even like clue in that I'm like I should like make sure to message my friends. And I'm trying my best to do it more and to be more effective at it. But yeah, it just happens. You just sort of get into this pattern. I think it has something to do with us getting into our 30s and getting into
Yeah.
the sort of the what are the normal strolls of life at this point, right?
Hmm.
So we feel like things are accelerating because we are so used to getting up, going to work, doing our
Hmm.
thing, going back to sleep, and then repeating the process, even if it's different every single day, or even if it's not a job. Like
And
sometimes you just sort of are like that.
and it wasn't just you. It was for a while. I wasn't communicating much with even the RCG guys. Like if it wasn't for the regular Monster Hunter streams I do now with them, I probably wouldn't be as talking as much as I used to. Like I went to SCR's wedding recently. That if I had not had some way of continuing that communication, that probably might not have happened.
Hmm.
So yeah, and the other thing
Yeah,
too
there
is
is that. You are a pink cat girl with a
well,
giant dick. I don't know. I don't like. This is the thing. You know me. I'm gonna say this right now. I don't care, and it feels so on brand, dude, that it hurts.
it's funny
It
because
hurts.
like people were like, oh, we've never like when I started doing the content for the NSFW stuff, people were like, oh, we never like we never knew you were like that. I was like, I just don't. I just kept my horny on the down low. I only said it in certain things. So Like you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
knew, but like nobody else knew.
Down low, not amongst his fucking friends. Yeah.
But
But
it's it's
we've always been sex positive here. We've
mhm.
always been about that here.
LGBTQ positive as well.
Hell yeah.
Which that's another thing too. Like I had just come out like months
Mm.
before the communication between us got a little busy. So like it was like
Oh, I hope you didn't think that had anything to do with
no,
it.
no, I didn't. I didn't. I was
Okay.
like I never
Sorry, I
asked
want to
you.
set that record. Yeah.
I never asked you about it because I was like it's you know what? It's there. He knows. Like if you want to ask me anything about it, whatever. Just
And like I said, if it was so off base to not be you, you would know that I would have talked
yeah.
to you about it. Like it's like, what the hell are you doing? No. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, this is Clay finding himself. That's important. I like my
Exactly.
friend finding who he is.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because like you were talking about the initial design. I've changed the design so many times. It's still the cat girl with that, but I have a femboy version now, and I have a dragon version coming up because Year of the Dragon is my year, and
Oh,
Halloween's
yeah,
coming
that's
up.
right. You're not a rabbit like I am. You're a year behind me.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah,
Like,
you're older than me. I always
yeah,
forget.
I'm a
Like
year older than you.
we're
Yeah.
just it's I think like you and Blondie are the same age. I think.
Yes,
I don't know.
yes. I think me and Blondie are the same year,
I'm pretty sure.
87.
That's why people get you mixed up all the time.
Two blonde guys in fucking Ontario. That's how it is.
But yeah, no.
Our Scandinavia just surging through our veins.
Exactly. But yeah, no. I think like a lot has changed, but a lot is the same. Too. Like I'm still doing the streams multiple times a week. I'm doing videos here and there. Power plays has not stopped. In fact, it has gotten bigger. My I'm as you might have remembered what I told you. My brother, when he was doing the politician thing, wanted it basically scrubbed from the net. He's 180. And he's like, I'm not a politician anymore. Can we record more videos?
Oh man.
So
You get to that point, right?
so he came to visit, and there's a ton of stuff I'm editing right now because he wanted to record videos. I'd be like, if even the two of us chilling, he's like, "You want to record this?" I'm like, "We don't have to." He's like, "Well, we should." I'm like, "Okay." He cares more about the show than I do, I think, at this point, and he's just a guest. So, but no, I've kept that going, and I promise, it's going to happen still, guys. If you're still down for it, because like you have to be down for it. X7 is going to happen at some point. I haven't given up on that.
Hey, if you're saying shit like that, Command Mission's still on the table,
Oh, Command
motherfucker.
Mission is definitely on the table, dude.
It better be. You know how much I wanted to play that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Did it get remastered yet? Has Capcom pulled it out of the vault yet?
No, it
every
doesn't have a
single
number.
Other goddamn game is getting
No,
remastered.
CJ, it doesn't have a number at the end of it. They don't know what that is. That's why there's no Code Veronica remake. Instead, they did 4, which didn't really need a remake, but kind of did too. So, should we just jump into Resident Evil 4?
It looks real nice.
Okay,
nice.
okay. So I don't have a PS5 like you do yet. I'm saving up for one because Silent Hill 2 is coming out. So I got it on PS4, and I gotta say, it still fucking looks so good. Like the RE engine, I don't know what it is, but they know how to make games look good, and that's why they kept using it.
The
Like,
power of lighting, my friend. The RE engine's lighting system is probably the best in the biz.
and yeah, and so yeah, let's just get into Resident Evil 4 because
Okay,
I have
so
some things to
are we
say.
just like full Resident Evil here? I guess, or like just the
Just
whole
for,
thing,
like-
or just
just for, like-
4?
Just for, I mean, we could go full Resident Evil because like I got into it with 7.
Oh yeah, and then like that has ties to like all the Umbrella stuff and the origin and all that.
I mean,
instead of the separation.
Chris
of
is
the
at the end of the
T-virus.
game. Spoilers. Except he looks weird.
It looks weird, but then they tried to fix it.
It's like, okay, you know what my headcanon is after 6, he's like, man, I gotta straighten myself up. He lost all the weight, and then he gained it again because when he was in Europe, the food was just too good.
Well, like you have to understand that the reason why he's super jacked in 5 is because he's training to fight against Wesker, who is like a superhuman. Like
Hmm.
he is the epitome of the T virus working properly,
Right.
right? It's what the T virus was meant to do.
Yeah. That's why
Yeah,
he's a
he's one of the
bunch of.
Wesker children.
That's why he's
That's
a
why he's
boulder
smuggling
puncher.
them watermelons. Yeah, punch those boulders. But you know, like everything has its purpose. In six, all the story plots unfortunately revolving around Ada and the copy of Ada and like the guy that was obsessed and in love with her. It's fucking weird.
Man, Resident Evil 6 is it's a game. Like it's a whole ass game. Like
It's
it's almost like they're at Capcom. They're like, we don't care what you do now. This is gonna be it. Just do whatever the hell you want. And then they did that.
well, they
Uh,
did what they thought was the thing. Like if
mhm.
you think of when it came out, all the games that were out, like Uncharted 2, Uncharted, maybe even Uncharted 3 was out at that point. So, like, you have to think of the gold standard of those types of cinematic action moments. People were looking for that. They wanted the action movie feel. So, Resident Evil 6, like the whole opening start in China there, like the whole plane crashing and then the zombies coming out, like the whole city, that feels like such an opening movie action based plot, right? So in every single beat, like the president being turned into a zombie and then fighting through all these like little packets. And to be fair, Leon's is probably the best plot in six.
I
And but Leon always gets the special treatment. Everybody's
mhm.
always liked him, and
he's
he's voiced
he's
by Matt Mercer in that one, so he's doubly suave and cool.
I I just killed the president.
Oh, yes. Oh no. Yes, you shot
And
him.
I have to admit something to you. Today when I was out, I was in Walmart and I was looking at the discount movies bin, and I saw something I never saw before called Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. And I
Ooh.
had to ask the guys, "What is this?" And they told me it's worse than the Mila movies. And I was like, "Okay." And so I
Oh,
bought it.
is that the one where like they're in this like weird pseudo like town that's like designed for it's so weird. It's like a
I
weird
mean, it's
utopian like dystopian
I
utopia
have no
thing.
idea. The shrink wrap is still on it, but I bought it
Okay.
today and
I,
I
I
was
I'm fairly
warned.
sure I know the twist, but it's not that good. But I won't ruin it because I'm sure you'll just love the twist.
I was warned about it and it was $5. So
Oh, I mean,
but
you
I bought a
could
bunch
play
of other stuff
Operation
too.
Raccoon City
Oh
instead.
my god, no. Oh, I have standards. Come on.
Nah,
Um
that is not the worst Resident Evil has outputted.
but
I will not. I will stand on my hill and not say that Operation Raccoon City was not the
I
worst
mean, have
struggle
you
that's come
played
out of the RE
Recore?
series.
Like
I mean, yes, but like that GBA game, oh my god, or Game Boy Color game, oh my god, the Gaiden, Resident Evil
Gaiden?
Gaiden,
Yeah.
where like Leon is like there's like a weird infection meter, and if you don't
Mhm.
get off in time, you turn into some
Wait,
sort
I
of
thought you
weird
played as
flesh
Barry in
tentacle
that
monster.
one. Am I
You
thinking of a
do,
different one?
you do,
Oh.
but you'd also play as Leon in it too.
Oh, okay. So I guess here's what I'll do. Like, some of my history with the franchise because I came in with
Yes.
seven. Seven just blew me away, and it's still my favorite in the franchise. Just I can go back to it anytime. I'm still. Oh no, wait! I finished all the DLC for it. Never mind. I was like, I still have DLC to do. I'm like, no, I finally finished everything. And then like if we include remakes, two remakes up there for me, like as one of my favorites as well.
Mhm.
I still need to finish Hunk's part, and I still need to finish the Tofu part, but they're hard, so that's why I haven't
And
finished them
they're
yet.
not story related, so I mean
Yeah,
Hunk is technically, I guess.
I I,
Though I
I
don't
will
know
at
if
some
this one
point.
is.
It's just really hard. So, but no, like, yeah, I love to remake. I think that's it and seven are kind of tied for me because I like seven for different reasons. I like to remake, so it's it's just that they're both like whenever I'm just like, oh, which one would I tell someone to play if they ask me which Resident Evil, I always usually go for two remake because it's usually the easiest one to get people into. But I'll like, but if I'm like, but in some days I'll be like, it's got to be seven because seven's like just the
Mhm.
atmosphere, the way the game looks. Like I could go on forever about why I really like seven. Um, And I've played, and then after that, I played the 3 remake, which I thought was fine, but I know a lot of people didn't
Yeah,
like.
it's rushed. It's rushed. It was a
Mm-hmm.
rushed. I wish that they had gotten the same love that Resident Evil
Mm-hmm.
4 seemed to have gotten, right?
I
It
think they
it
learned their
clearly
lesson.
feels RE2 got a bunch of love, RE4 got a bunch of love, and again, my favorite game of the franchise always gets pooped on because it was the perfect uh way of including a scary situation, but also having that action feel. Like Jill felt like she could take on this shit. She wasn't in the like what's
Mm-hmm.
going on phase of her damsel state like she was in the first game. She was like
Yeah.
a fucking hardened person. So you always felt that you could get her out of those situations. But in the remake, it just always felt like they were just like, well, here's Nemesis. He can just eat your bullets, so don't
I,
shoot him. So you
I'll,
just run him around in a circle, and it's not fun. He's not scary.
I'll say this: 3 remake has some of my favorite lines. Like, what's his name? Carl's going, "Hey, fuckface," and he turns around and shoots him with a fucking
Oh yeah, with the grenade
rocket launcher.
launcher. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when he falls into the water after being on fire, and Jill just goes, "Bitch can't even swim." It's so good. I know that a lot of people were upset because I guess I don't know what you call it, the clock tower or whatever it was,
Well, I mean, they
was taken
cut
out.
out they cut out about 2/3 of the game.
So
Like the park's gone. Like you going into the greater part of the city is gone. There's the underground sewer section that's gone.
I
There's
guess
like you
I'm
said the
not.
clock tower.
I guess I'm not too caught up about that one because actually just before I played through remake, I played a modded version of what's the PS2 one called? Outbreak, the online
Yes,
one. I played that
that
with
was on
Angel
GameCube as
Halo.
well.
Was it? I thought it was only on
Yeah.
PS2.
Oh, I'm fairly sure it was on GameCube. I'm fairly sure I played Outbreak on
Well,
GameCube.
anyways, we were playing a modded version of the PS2 version. I played it with Angel Halo and Shadow Snake and a couple other people, and I really enjoyed that game.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
I
No.
really enjoyed that game. I still need to play Case 2 at some point, which I'm probably going to do with another group because I know Blondie's been talking about wanting to play it and whatnot. So at some point I'll do that. But I really liked that game too. That was like my first. I think that was the first Resident Evil I played that still had the tank controls technically. So,
Hmm.
because
Well,
I
they
haven't
all
gone.
technically have tank controls, except they put the camera in a different spot.
Yeah, yeah. I just for full disclosure, I haven't played the original 3 on their original systems. I haven't played the original version of 4 either.
Well, I mean,
So
OG system doesn't really matter anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they all the emulations, there's so many
Hmm.
versions of them out there now.
Yeah.
Don't ever feel like you need to have the experience on the PSX.
I
You know,
also
like if
haven't.
you're gonna go that far, go buy a Cathay and like plug that in that way.
I will. I mean, I have 2 CRTs in my house, but I plan to play the originals at some point. I just like the remakes were coming out right when I was getting into it, so that's why I played those versions.
Hmm.
So I thought 3 was okay, and Outbreak was fun. And then
Outbreak has some of the coolest set pieces.
it does,
I think
yes.
Outbreak, like the zoo. There is on the only other game that has done the zoo the same way and that sort of horrific, like virus infected thing is
Hmm.
Parasite Eve. You go to
Yeah,
Central Park in Parasite Eve, and like the same thing sort of happens there, and it's pretty awesome.
I need to play that game. I've
There's
already
another
finished.
game if you're in that vein, try Parasite Eve. The
It.
first one, the second game's a little odd, and we don't talk about the third birthday. That's not a Parasite Eve game.
I have that
Uh,
too, but
yeah.
I'll say that it's been on my list for a while, but other things have come in to range.
Mhm.
Like, just like I said, I'm getting the PS5 to play Silent Hill 2, but I'm not gonna have it in time for when it comes out. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna have to wait until I get a PS5 before I can play it. There's a couple other games that I want to get to. That's what I'm getting Monster Hunter on, by the way. In case you were wondering, I'm getting it on
Mm.
PS5.
Yes,
Um,
good, because that's what I'm probably gonna get it on.
it,
Though
it,
aren't they
it has
saying there's gonna be
crossplay.
crossplay? Yeah,
I
I was
think it
about
has
to say,
crossplay
isn't the
now.
crossplay like gonna be day one? So
I'm
it's not
just
gonna be
not
bad.
dealing with Danuvio anymore. The last time I used it on my PC, it fucked things up. So I just like nope. I guess I
No,
could put it on my Steam Deck because I have a Steam Deck now, but I would rather just play it on console. To be honest,
my
Monster Hunter's a
PC
console game to me.
is dying, so that's
Oh
why I've been
goodness.
console gaming.
Yeah, well, mine blue screens so often that I'm just like I just don't want to deal with PC gaming. I just want to play
Oh,
everything on
we got some
consoles or Steam
ads.
Deck. Oh yeah, sorry, that comes up.
Yeah, I know. This is a. I know that there's this ongoing battle between ad blockers and Twitch streams and all those things. I mean, you want to support the channel as much as you can, but I
Guys,
completely
if you
understand.
wanna, if you wanna watch without ads, there's the Brave browser right there.
Oh, jeez. Here it is. It's right there. Don't do it. Don't fall for the shill. Oh my god, I'm going for it. Oh no.
Oh God, do I shill the gamer drink company I'm
Oh
with now?
no, no gosh, no, no! Don't you prime me. Don't you fucking prime. I will hang up if you prime me.
I'm not gonna do an actual ad for that. Whatever. If you guys have an ad, this will be up on Patreon later. Anyway, sorry. So going back to what I was saying, let's see, where was I? Okay, so yeah, 3 remake, Village came out, and I played Village. And I really like Village. I just like 7 a lot more than it. I think. I like that it expanded. Okay, I'll say this. I'll say this right now. Like I think the new pro tag. He's one of my favorites.
You
I
think
know he's
so?
I know he's just a plain Jane. I'm a guy saving my family, dude. But like, I like him.
I know he's given off Ari Jesus vibe. Like they're setting him up to be this sort of
Ethan
catalyst.
Winters, that's his name.
Yes, Mr. Ethan Winters.
Yeah, and yes,
Don't save me. Don't come and save me.
and
Here
I
comes the Messiah to save you.
and yes, I'll say that I was totally into the aesthetic and everything of 8. I like everybody else.
I wish they leaned more into the werewolf. I
Yes.
really wish that they had. Instead of the weird parasite, they always do the parasite thing. I'm sick and tired of parasites.
There's Fishman.
And still a fucking weird
I mean,
parasite shit.
they front load it with Dommy Mommy Vampire, but who turns into a dragon. But that's
Well, weird flesh dragon.
I'm saying this SCR. I know you don't like the way. I'm just saying it's still really good. I still put it up there with games in the series that I really enjoy. I will say, just I thought 7 was just so much better. Uh, uh, but I'm sad because, spoiler, if you haven't played Resident Evil Village, I'm about to soft spoil things for you here. But the game's been out for a few years. It's sad that I think Ethan's story is over, and I was like, damn it, who only got
Well,
2
he's not.
games?
He's not the only Winter.
I know, but it's like, damn it, he only got 2 games.
You do understand that it's not really his story. All the trilogy isn't about him. It's about one person, and you're going to be playing as her in the 3rd game. Well, you technically play
she
as
was
her
in the DLC.
She's in the DLC, but she will be the main character of the.
I'm just wondering how they're going to do it, because it's going to have to take place years in the future when she's older. So they're going to have to figure that out. But I guess this is Resident Evil.
I really hope
whatever.
they go the urban horror route.
That'd be nice.
Like, because the cool thing about Resident Evil 3 is it was urban horror. And they did a very good job on the aesthetics in the remake of RE3 and giving you that feeling of a city that was trying to block off the dead, like trying to find ways of stopping. And you can see how the whole landscape of the city has changed. Whereas in the remake, you only get to see the streets from like maybe about 3 or 4 parts. So you never really get that feeling of the fact that regular day citizens were like going into shops and pulling out things and trying to barricade in front of the streets and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting if you go back and look at a lot of the key art of Resident Evil 3. And you can see that they put a lot of time and effort in seeing how a urban environment would deal with like a horrific event like that. And if they're leaning around the idea that they've got this sort of parasite bog monster shit that's going around, that infecting a city would be very, very interesting. Like, imagine having to go into apartment buildings or a hospital or other things, those things that you did in Resident Evil 3 that they didn't do.
You went to the hospital in the remake.
No, that's not. It's not the hospital, okay? That was a weird, like, if any hospital had this weird centralized greenhouse glass thing that apparently had 3 floors that could easily have people pushed off the edge. You know, like rolled off carts. Sorry, it's just the aesthetics and the fact that that building is not up to code bothers the shit out of me. And it turned into a rail shooter with Carlos, which is the only saving grace because Carlos was the best part of that game.
I love that you're like that hospital was not up to code.
No, it wasn't.
Oh fuck! When did we get
No
back on
wonder
Resident
they
Evil
all
3?
succumbed to the virus.
How do we get back on Resident Evil 3 remake?
Because it's my favorite. Not the
um,
remake, but Resident Evil 3 is.
um,
I
so
was just talking
okay.
about the next game. Like I was
Mhm.
hoping that they would take it out. Like they decided to do the back alley bog, right? Like, you know, in the sticks sort of thing. Then they did a medieval castle, old village, very Resident Evil 4. So let's bring it into the city again. Bring Resident Evil back
Mhm.
into the residency.
Yeah.
Like hell, I would love a street. Just imagine a suburban street where you have to go
Oh
into
god.
certain homes to find certain items and other things like that. It's like a
I,
semi-survival
I think
style.
honestly, I think the closest we're gonna get to that is Resident Evil being in Dead by Daylight
Mm.
because of the residential maps and stuff in that.
Well, I mean, everything's in Dead by Daylight now.
Yeah, everything.
Everything's in
Um,
it.
which is a fun game, but there's so many people who are like toxic on that game that I can't. I just never
Yeah.
play it anymore. But getting back to Village, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the DLC of it, and then like 4 they took their time with, which I think they learned their lesson on the 3 remake to just not release it like immediately. Like they
Mhm.
announced it shortly after around when they did the DLC for Village, but they didn't release until a
That was
year or
about 2
two
years
after.
after the DLC for
Some
Village, I think.
something like that. Yeah. So,
Right.
just like with 2 and 3, the 4 remake was my first experience with Resident Evil 4. I've watched you play it. I've watched other people play the original. Like it seems to unanimously be said that like 4 is one of the best in the series. And
Mhm.
so
Okay,
that being said,
okay. Best in the series, I want to say it is a industry setter. If I were to classify it as anything, I don't know if I would ever say that is the best game or the best Resident Evil game. Like it, but what it did for like how we played video games in that early 2000s to the 2010s, it influenced so much on how we went about playing games. So that's why every time I always talk about Resident Evil 4 and why it's so important to me is that because like that over the shoulder shooter style that so many games like Fortnite wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the fact that RE4 did it. It's
mhm.
so good.
and what I'll say is like for and I and the one of the reasons I didn't play the original is because you and I were gonna play it together, and it just hasn't happened yet. So
Mhm.
that was one of those things. Where it's like I always in my head, I'm like, no, I'm saving 4 to play with CJ, and then I did 5 with my buddy 10, and I really liked 5. 5 was really fun too. Um, and then
I again underrated. I still think
mhm,
that 5 is a black sheep of the series. A lot of people don't like it because it was the first to really lean more into the action rather than the horror. But Sheva was a fantastic new addition as a
it's really
character.
good.
She never felt like she was pushed into the story. She felt very relevant.
Mhm.
Like Joshua, oh, fucking love Josh and Jill's DLC was so good. They had such good highs in Resident Evil 5. It just got into that little campy. Like I still remember the first time I faced off against the lobster boss the
Oh
second
my
time in the
god.
Aztec temple. Like me and my friend Mexican. Like I think he still streams every once in a while too. I should talk to Vaughn at some point too. Speaking of old friends that I used to speak to, you know, like there's just something magical about that game as a co-op game. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was
And
so
and
good.
that's the thing. I played it co-op. Like me and my buddy Tenrose, we played it together.
Yeah,
And
there.
that was the perfect way to play it as co-op because yeah, I could probably play the game solo and be fine, but it really, really like it's really built on playing it co-op. Like that
Mhm.
entire game is really built on doing the co-op. And so I mean it's probably getting remade if the ending of RE4 remake is any indication, but I won't go into that. right now. But
Ouroboros. If they don't have what's his face Miller back for Wesker, it's not a real remake.
yeah, I can't remember who voices Wesker in
Something Miller.
4.
I think so.
I can't remember.
He's
Anyways,
voiced him. He voices him in like all of them since like RE1. I'm fairly sure.
stop! Don't open that door.
No, not that one. Not that RE1. RE1 remake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Chris, stop laughing. And
You're
so
such
yeah,
a fool, Wesker. Sorry.
I've been okay. I've been watching a lot of like documentaries and video essays on the original Resident Evil games, and I didn't realize how like I knew what the voice acting was like in the original game, but I didn't know. And then I started seeing
Oof.
scenes of it, and I'm like, oh, okay,
But it's so memorable. Like
exactly.
I still hop back and forth on whether or not Star Fox 64 was well voice acted. But I
Oh, it was.
remember so many lines of that. Like, Daddy screamed real good before he died. Like, holy fuck. That was in a like a rated E for everyone game. A pig was saying that to you. But like
It's
those are lines that just they stick out
mhm.
because of some
It's
weird
part of its
reason. And
charm. So I wouldn't want to change it from like the in the original Resident Evil, the original way it is. I wouldn't want to change anything in it. I would leave it the way it is because it's a product of that time. Like
to be
it.
fair though, they did a good job on keeping the camp in
Mhm,
RE1's remake. They did a very good job on
mhm.
obviously improving the voice acting significantly, but they got some good gibble sandwiches in there.
I think my favorite video that I watched on the original Resident Evil is when they got the cast from the original game back to play it, and they don't remember anything about the voice lines they did. But
Oh, like imagine like think about it this way. A lot of those people they I think like half of them were like janitors. Like we talked about this a long time ago in
it's
like
because
the
Mega Man X4
X4.
and Mega Man
Yeah.
8, they did the
They
same
just like
thing.
they just found random white people on the street and said, "You want to be in this?" And they're like, "I guess, sure." And they got paid
They're
and they
definitely
just went about
directed
their
by a
lives.
Japanese person who had a vague understanding of English. Like
Yes.
that has to be it because it's just so awkward. It's like I remember when John St. John explained to us when he did the intro for Blue Stinger, and the Japanese director was like, "No, it's Baru Stinger." Okay, Blue Stinger. No, 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 Baru Stinger.
Bruce
and
Stinger.
and him trying to say it that way, like, yeah, anyways. Um,
Yeah. They have to say it with
but
the accent,
but
even if it's a little
what was I gonna say? Okay, so yeah, I played through 5. I really enjoyed 5, especially the mercenaries content too. It was really fun too. That was really
not
fun.
the
I
best
gotta play more of
mercenary
it.
song though.
Yeah, but it's really fun. Like
Yeah,
I
well,
was like
yeah,
I want
no.
more of that.
I know, but
Um,
there's some bangers. There's been some banger music coming out of Mercenaries in the last little while. So, unfortunately, 5 has probably the weakest Mercenaries music, and that, but
yeah,
has the most variety of characters. I think.
yeah, it has a lot of characters. Um, and so it's just I wish every time I think about it, and I'm like, I wish instead of making these like weird online games that they keep trying with every new release, they just make a new mercenaries mode. Like, ah, shit, I just clicked on something by accident.
Oh,
Oh, I got a freaking bot thing in my chat. I accidentally clicked
oh,
on it,
okay.
but I closed my browser before it opened. So,
Good job, boy.
anyways, so yeah, so 5 really enjoyed 5, and then um 6 I did with Mr. Up here because I think he was the only person I could convince to play that game with me. And he's like, and he's such a hardcore Resident Evil fan. He's like, dude, I own this game 6 versions over. I'm like, I'm like, you own every version of this? He's like, yeah, pretty much every version. If they release a new one, I'm buying it again. I'm like, okay. So I played that one with him, and I actually like 6 as well. It's, but it definitely is that moment where I was like, this game jumped the shark. like
Yeah.
Resident Evil has now jumped the shark. But I'm like I'm still having so much fun with it because I'm laughing with it, not at it.
Well,
A lot of
it's
it.
the gratuitous amount of this is not necessary. I like the whole thing. Like, okay, minor spoilers about Price, right? The whole thing about Price and Chris, like their whole dynamic in six,
Hmm.
right? And like the whole rookie that Chris doesn't want to have die, and then he just
Oh, Pierce.
dies. Oh, Hugh. Oh, that's what his name. I thought his name was Pierce.
Pierce. You're saying
Pierce.
Price.
Oh, Price. Sorry, Pierce. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Pierce. Sorry, I was just like, who's Price? I was thinking, I'm like, who the
Right.
fuck is
Sorry.
that?
Sorry. The names they sometimes when they're that memorable, you know, because they're not because it's like I always do. I always say this about media. Whenever you get characters like Chris, Jill, Leon, Claire, you realize that they become these icons of video games, and they have these tendencies to be very cautious about having anything really happen to them, so they use these catalyst characters to have this happen to them. So all the trauma really happens to Pierce throughout the entire thing, even though it's really should have been Chris that went through
Chris is such
that
a
entire
fucking
arc.
asshole in that game, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this game ruins one of my favorite characters. Like, ugh,
but
it
I mean,
hurts.
your sole goal was to punch a guy like into the stratosphere for ages and ages and ages and ages to realize that killing him didn't solve any of the world's problems. It actually made it worse because the power vacuum that he left is now just being filled by more BMWs and all that, right? It's just like I can
Yeah,
understand like the world economics was so interesting in Resident Evil. Like what would our world be like if bioterror was the main terror, right? Like we always think about like nukes in our world, right? Those are the things in our world that we always are scared of that could lead us to destruction. But if we had gone the opposite route and went a biological route, that's an even scarier prospect,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And this
Um,
isn't just about superhumans. This is
yeah.
about mass genocide.
I don't know if I would go that far. SCR. It doesn't have a broken health bar system. But anyways, the Chris route is my least favorite in that game, but I still enjoyed playing it. Um, the Leon's campaign is one of my favorites in that game. Like
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that one. Even though
It
it gets
should have
really
been the whole
stupid.
game. Should have
Yeah,
just been the whole game.
even though it gets really stupid at some points, I'm like I still like it because Leon's always there to have a quippy line.
And then
Um,
Jake and Sherry. What do you think of Jake and Sherry? This is actually
I
decisive thing.
I love the fact that I got to play as Sherry because I played Resident Evil 2 remake a couple years before that, and I was like, you get to play as Sherry for a little section, and I was like, this is cool. You get to do a little stealth thing, and then they bring her back, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They brought back a character. It's too bad they can't bring back some of the other ones, like Barry or
Well,
Ark
Barry's
Thompson.
okay. First and foremost, Barry and Claire they're in their own bullshit
Yeah,
in Revelations. Like
yeah. I need to
they're in
finish
their own
Revelations.
problem. They're in their own problem right now. Like if you think about the timeline, technically Barry and Claire are off in Revelations right now.
I just yeah. Okay, but they need to make another campaign between
Mhm.
Leon and his best friend Ark Thompson.
Jeez,
Wouldn't it
come
be so
on.
fucking silly if he just showed up? He's like, Leon, Ark, what
See,
are
that's
you
the thing is
doing?
I don't think like that's the thing is that's a deep cut. You know, like that's a really deep cut, and I just don't
Blondie, I
see
will
it.
stop talking about it when the game stops being canon, and it's still canon.
It is canon, but
Survivor is
Ark
canon.
Ark is allowed to retire and be a genuinely nice person in society. He does not need to be part of this biological warfare bullshit. Okay? How about you let Ark live his goddamn life,
I
Zero?
still say
Huh?
they should make a remake of Survivor and call it Resident Evil Island. They could put like 1 1. They could put 2.5, but make the island with two eyes and the five BNS. Resident Evil Island. Think about it.
Oh dear.
It's the first person Resident Evil game.
What? Yeah, yeah, but
They could
like,
remake it like
what
they could make it like
would you
Seven.
want it in full first person, or would you want it kind of rail shootery like it was
I would want it
in its
like
original?
I would want it to be play like Resident Evil 7. That's what I would want.
Okay.
Like if they made it like that with the worst name for Resident Evil. Why? What's wrong with Resident Evil Island? It'd be a great remake. Anyways, I mean,
Well, it's called Dead Island. That's what
I
it's
could
called.
I could see them. I could only see them doing that when they run out of stuff to remake. They're like, Resident Evil Survivor. Let's do that one. like, that's the
Well, I
only
mean,
time I could see
Code
it.
Veronica would probably be the
Why
best
that one
idea.
needs to be remade, and I don't know why. Oh no, wait. So I know why they haven't done it. There's not a number at the end of it. That's why it hasn't been remade
I
yet. They
mean,
don't know it
technically
exists.
speaking, the best version of it is called Code Veronica X, and
But that's
X
not a
is Roman
10.
numeral for
That's
10.
not a
So,
10. That's like a Mega
but I
Man
mean,
X.
after a while, if you start counting all the Resident Evils, you could consider Veronica a 10th game in the series.
I guess you could, but Capcom doesn't remember that there are games without numbers at the end of them. That's why they haven't remade them. That's why the Mega Man
Me-
collections all have
Meanwhile,
numbered
Final
games.
Fantasy just said Square Enix was like, "Guess what? You're paying for every single Final Fantasy at full price again, assholes." Well, not the pixel ones. Those ones are what, like $20 each or something like
I
that.
want to get the physical of the Pixel remasters, but it's like over $100, and I'm like, Resident Evil 9
Ugh.
Ice Age. Don't even joke about that, Sab.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, that like yeah, like Resident Evil that takes place on an island, like that's Code Veronica. So
yeah.
like you might as well. And I mean, oh gosh, I've actually blanked on his name. I almost called him Kevin, but that's not his name. Um, oh geez, her stupid love interest, Steve. Yeah, there we go. Good old Steve. Steve needs to be brought into the modern day
Oh my god. I mean, like,
with his golden Berettas. Yeah,
and
thank you,
when
buddy.
I've talked to Mister Up here multiple times about like, what if they get to the point where they remake 6, and I'm like, and like, what are they gonna do with this game? Like, this game is such a like I love it,
See, I
but it's
think
such a
this is
clusterfuck.
actually a problem. And actually this is actually a good, I think a good transition is this is a statement that I've been noticing lately, not just just from me visually, but I don't know if you feel this too. Where are all the really good new games? Everything just feels like it's been remade or it's been cookie cuttered or whatever. It's like I don't feel excited for
This
like
is
new releases anymore
okay.
because it's like what am I excited for? What came out last year? RPG Super Mario RPG got remade. That was pretty exciting last year. Like
Before we
yeah.
get too deep into it, I just need to use the bathroom real quick. So
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna leave
Sure.
you with chat, and you
Oh
can
god,
chat.
don't
You
do
can tell
this.
CJ whatever you want.
Oh dear. Oh no, I'm all by myself now. I haven't been placed in this predicament for 4 years. I'm gonna look at my phone like a true millennial. That's how we do this, right? We just avoid eye contact. Though I guess technically there is no eye contact because I'm on stream. Innovation is more of an indie thing now. I definitely do. I agree with that statement for Mentley. It just always feels that I'm leaning more towards games that aren't in the mainstream. Like I don't even play Nintendo really all that much anymore. It's just one of those things. I know I'm older as a gamer, so it's not really aimed at my demographic. But I have a nephew now that is going to be growing up and wanting to play these games with me. So I hope that I'm excited to go into those avenues because those were where I got all my excitement from gaming. Like I guess I'm technically still I play The Sims 4. I'm feeding into the EA gaming engine, you know. Same thing. I play 14, right? So I feed into the like Square Enix engine, right? It definitely feels like I'm playing games out of convenience rather than experimentation because it's like, oh, I know 14, I can just go in there, I can play it for a few hours and then hop out. Same thing with something like Crusader Kings or Oxygen Not Included or Stardew Valley or Fields of Mysteria or Coral Island, like these farming games and other things like that. Like you said, these indie games. It's I don't know. I guess I'm looking for something, and I guess my tastes are getting so specific that I'm not even considering playing some of the other stuff now. It's probably the best way to describe that feeling. But I mean, there's also the time factor. I want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but it is just so much. I'm so happy to play it. I love every single character. Every moment makes me laugh. It makes me cry. But oh my God, I am 100 hours in and I don't even think I'm past the first act. Just like not, I think I'm in the second area, but like that's what it feels like. It feels like every single time I pick up a game for 2, 3 hours, then I don't play it for a few days and I come back. It's like, well, there's no end. There's just so end. But then I play a quick game and then I feel unfulfilled because I wanted a little bit more out of it. So I don't know where the fine line of a game is now. Like what I guess maybe like yeah, like a 2 to 3 hour play session that can finish a game is usually how I like to do it. Or, it has an arbitrary finish. Like that's why I like um farming games and stuff like that. Because you just finish your day and that's your save, right? No, my game of like sinking time into right now is Crusader Kings 3 and Oni, Oxygen not included. Something cathartic about having a bunch of little men on the verge of death to inhaling hydrochloric gas on a daily basis is kind of fun and relaxing. 45 times? I mean, I guess if you start skipping cutscenes in BG3, it's not as gratuitous because you're more playing it for the gameplay, like you're playing it to see your builds and stuff like that. That obviously is always a big problem when it comes to RPGs with me. Is I have that weird learning curve where I play the beginning and I learn how the game plays and then I restart instead of just continuing with the save. It's like I want to learn how to properly play the game before I continue through it. But it can also lead to so many false starts too.
Yeah, man. Games that like don't um appreciate my time are the ones that I just don't
Well,
end
this is
up
the thing is
playing.
Baldur's Gate 3 does appreciate my time. I can pick it up whenever I want to. It's just,
But I mean like
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 I need to
perfect
have time to do it.
like
And it
let me put
sucks
it this
because
way.
I don't know why I did something, you know, 20, 30 hours ago because I played that 4 or 5 months ago,
Yeah,
right? So it's
exactly.
that disconnect of, oh yeah, that MacGuffin that I should have picked up on because it's related to a conversation that I had only 10 hours ago gameplay wise, but me playing is a there's a huge gap between it. It can become an issue. An issue
Like
indeed.
the one thing that always comes up that I think of is people are like I really at some point would like to play Persona 5. I don't have time for 150 hours. I need to play that game when I have nothing to do. That's basically what I've decided with that. Like if a game is like an RPG, if a game is over 40 hours, I'm just not going to give you any time because
Mm.
I don't have time to sit down and play that the whole time. Unless I'm streaming it, which streaming has
See
definitely
there,
helped me get through games.
that's the thing about Persona 5 that I think could be beneficial for you.
But
Personally,
like but
I've
that's
I've
going to be
seen a lot of Persona 5 players and like people that I've watched content of people playing Persona 5, they always ended up streaming it. I've
yeah.
never come across a person that has played through it. I mean, obviously there are on YouTube, but when we talk
Mhm.
about popular, like the popular Persona 5ers,
Mhm.
like the ones that have views on their videos, they streamed it. And the very first video they made was, I don't know what this game is about. I'm just going to drop in. And they sort of edited together the very first palace,
Mhm.
which is its own self contained story. It's about 20 to 30 hours. And if you don't like what the slice that you get there, there is no reason to continue playing Persona 5
Mhm.
because it is that. And if you do not like that first 20 hours, so if you want to just invest that first palace, I guarantee you the story itself is what will keep you there
Yeah.
because every single time you think, oh, I got to manage this, I got to manage that. No, the game will hold your hand, especially if you play Royal. It'll hold your hand throughout the entire thing. You can even let the game just choose everything for you if you want.
And that's the thing. You said like that first 20 hours. I'm like, oh, the first part of the game is 20 hours. You've already lost me. because I'm
But see,
like,
that's the
that's too
thing is like
much.
you think when I say the first part is 20 hours, you don't understand what happens in 20 hours in the game.
And
You
I
think
don't.
20 hours is like, oh, I get to level 10 or level 5. Yeah, yeah, you may only get up to level 15, but all the mechanics, all of the story, and everything that has been leading up to that 20 hours is gameplay.
So
It is content. It is story. It's not just a tutorial like
so so
which a lot of gameplay or a lot of reviewers state all the time that it's some sort of tutorial where it's not.
So let me put just real quick, like the reason I wouldn't stream something in Persona 5 is because it would take me over 6 months to finish, and that's too much time that I could be playing other games. Is the way that I look at it. Like if like Persona, let me put it this way: Persona 5 Royal will be my retirement game when I no longer make content anymore and I'm just playing games on my own time. I'll play it then.
See, I feel that's a it's sort of like stepping away. Like as soon as you get to a certain thing, like would you play Final Fantasy 16? That is a game that is roughly about 60 hours if you do its content, but it is not an RPG. It is a action based attack, like press X to attack style game. Like is it because of the length? Is it because of the style of the game? Do you feel that the repetitiveness of a turn based system, because
No,
I've always known
not
that
not at all.
you've always been wishy-washy when it comes to RPGs and their turn based systems. Like you either
I
love
like
it or
I
you
like
get
turn-based
absolutely
games.
bored out of it like immediately.
I like turn-based RPGs, and I like the way Persona plays. I've watched people play it. I've
Right.
played it a
Liking
little bit
Pokemon, all
myself.
right. Liking
Like
Pokemon isn't liking turn based games.
I'm not
Like
including
I
Pokemon in that. I'm not including Pokemon in
okay.
that. But like I just like when I look at something that's such a like that's going to be such a big investment
Mhm.
of my time. I'm just like I can dedicate a ton of time to this one game, or I can play a bunch of other games that I'd rather play or I'd really be into than playing this one game that I might be into. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and I just feel that like as someone that watches people react and see the transformation of people that go in with your mentality that say, yeah, fuck, like 20 hours is like the beginning slice that I need to play to really understand if I'm going to like this or not. I'm just going to play 10 hours. It's a weird weeaboo game. Like some people don't like anime. Some people do love anime and don't play it for that whole same reason. It's just, I feel you're shooting yourself in the foot when you could actually make a whole big shtick out of it. The idea is like, if you get chat involved, it's so interesting to watch you divulge into madness when you play the game because everybody wants to see how you react to things and it would be a positive experience for you. I really do think, especially with how active your chat is right now. I mean, yes, it's me, I'm here and people are talking because I'm here, but like I can already tell that you've got at least one interested party or two
yeah,
interested parties in your chat. So
I
don't outright kick it out of your list just because you think
well
I'm gonna not play enough or I'm
here,
gonna
here's my
whatever.
thing.
Sorry.
I'm not saying never say never, but I'm saying like like I guess what I'm saying is you're gonna really have to twist my arm to get me to want to play that because I know it's gonna be 6 months to stream it because I can only play a couple hours a night.
Yeah. But you,
So
like I said, 20 hours sounds like a lot of time, but unless you're going to be like absolutely ribbing for hours on end without actually, playing the game, it'll go by fast. If you take 6 months to get through the first 20 hours of a game, you
not six
probably
months
should.
for just the not just for the first 20 hours. You're
Oh,
misinterpreting
I
for the
know.
whole game is
Okay,
what I'm
yeah,
talking about.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the thing is I'm asking you not to play the whole game, just play the first palace. And if you don't want to play it past it, I totally get it because it is that. If you go to the next palace expecting it's going to be something different after that, it really isn't. It is just a compound of more of what Persona 5 is. So that's why I'm saying you play that first 20 hours, that first palace. You go through the entire story arc, through the entire school days, right? Where you raise your stats and all that, do that stuff, do the slice, do what do they call that? The vertical slice they call it, right?
Nice.
And this is the best way I can always promote Persona 5 to people that always use the it's it takes too long to get into, or I don't have enough time to get into it. It's the same thing with Baldur's Gate. I bitch and complain about the fact that I don't have time, but the only reason why I bitch about it is because it's so good. I want to continue. So that's sort of where I'm trying to hop onto you about that. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But I would say it's remiss if you didn't upload your highlights of you playing through the first palace and see the reaction you get on YouTube. I would garner you would get a lot of views on that single video.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. CDI seems to do better for me on YouTube. I'm just
No,
saying.
no, that's just because we did a fucking sex video, asshole.
Not just that one. No, the Wacky World of Miniature Golf did good because
Yeah, and you
the
know
game
why?
grumps got stuck.
Yeah, that's why. Because we followed a trend, and as much as I wish we could say that
Hey,
it's
no, we
because
didn't follow
we
a
were
trend.
cool.
We beat that game.
We did,
before then.
but that's because I was the one that was like, no, I beat this as a kid. We're beating this in real life. Instead of my weird kid reflexes.
By the way, did I tell you that I got a game code for RZ and I played through that? That's the game that was made by the guys who remastered the CDI Zelda games.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's right. There was that.
It has
not
it,
a demake,
dude. It feels like Wand of Gamelon, but if it was good, I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it. You just have to try RZ at some point, and you'll be like, oh, you'll get it like immediately.
So the character doesn't feel like he's plagued with shoes full of molasses.
I can't explain it. You just have to feel it. That's one of those ones you have to feel.
Well, remember, you rage quit out of that. You made me beat that.
Most of it, yeah.
No, what do you mean most of it?
Hey,
you were in the first 2 levels, dude. You grinded. That's the most you did in that game. You grinded rupees
I
for
helped,
me.
okay?
Please go watch that playthrough. We bonded as friends during that playthrough.
You played that on your fucking curved TV.
Hell yeah. Plugging it into this high definition curve ass 4K TV, playing a CDI. Hell yeah.
Yeah. But no, ours, if you ever get a chance to try RZ, you'll immediately be like, oh, this feels like what Wand of Gamelon should have felt like. Is how I felt.
They got the spoon controller too. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they made a USB spoon controller.
Does it have the little screw on joystick? Did they include the little hole with the little screw on joystick?
That's
because that would be the full package that you would get the controller with the little screw on.
I can't remember.
Yep. Yeah, I have the spoon.
I almost want to get it and compare it to your actual spoon controller and be like, how accurate this is.
It's probably pretty accurate.
It's USB.
I would assume the patent was never refreshed by Philips.
I missed getting it when Limited Run sold it, so I don't have it, but I know some people do, and I'm sure I'll see it soon because one of my local game stores gets random Limited Run stuff. So
I will say this to the end of time, just because every time we talk about controllers, shout out to Sega for never discontinuing the Sega Dreamcast controller. They still make it to this day. You can get a brand new Dreamcast controller from Sega.
Oh, you can? Oh yeah, yep. I always forget that you worked at a game store, and you were the one who told me you can buy new copies of Final Fantasy VII. And that's why it doesn't, it's never
the greatest hits version was continuously printed up until 2015. So anytime you see a green version of FF7 and somebody's trying to sell it to you for $50, they're ripping the fuck out of you.
Yeah, because
there are so many of them.
It's down to 20 now on the I think people realize that because it's down to 20 on the charts.
Tell me you're a collector without telling me you're a collector. To be fair, I have not collected in a very long time. Ever since I stopped working at Jumbo, I really haven't been keeping up with retro games. I obviously have been playing newer games, but yeah, no, my retro scene, I love my PS1 collection and my N64 collection. They are my pride and joy. They are full of life and happiness.
Well,
the only game I wish that I had in my collection was Snow Bros for the Nintendo. But that is way too expensive.
They re-released that actually on Switch and PS4, I think. I think they re-released Snow Brothers. It might have been a collection of all the versions of it. I can't remember. There is
the Snow Bros 1 and 2. The second one never came to the States. It
Mhm.
was like a Nintendo Famicom exclusive, but the first one did. And yeah, it became really, really expensive very, very quickly because I don't know, it's just one of those Konami games. They just back in the day when Konami was great.
Oh yes, sorry. It's called Snow Brothers Special, and it's for the Switch.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I think it's like a re-release of or a remaster.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
it's a
good to hear
re-release of the.
that.
It's a re-release of the Super Nintendo one. I think. Uh, okay, cool. I thought there was
Oh,
a
okay.
physical edition of it too. I can't remember. I just remember seeing that and be like, if it's on your radar, you're probably gonna pick that up. Is what my thought
Oh yeah.
was. So,
The Shantae remake was really, really nice to see. The
oh my
GB,
god,
the Game Boy Color version, that was really nice to
yeah,
see pop up.
yeah. And then the GBA game that never was, they actually finished it.
Hmm.
That's coming out, and I'm like, that's cool. So I've got almost all the Shantae games now, and I got to play through them. My partner Sky is probably gonna force me to play them. So, but no, just getting back to what you're saying. There's something I wanted to say when because I have wireless headphones and I could hear everything you were saying while I
Yeah.
was in the can. But back to
That
like
normal
you
Zero
said about
behavior, listening to me while he's taking a shit.
I wasn't shitting. Well, you don't know that.
I don't know
So,
that.
what was it? Uh, I've recently seen some videos from some people like Critical and other people talking about like how like AAA games aren't making the same money they used to. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't need to mention Concord, but Concord was
Yes,
100.
even I know
Yeah.
what happened there. Like I don't my hand is not on the pulse like it used to be,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, even my radar was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Sony put 100
Yeah.
mil into that, and it didn't even sell a million copies. So it's like, and so they pulled that, and then there's that series from Amazon that's coming out. It's gonna have a Concord episode, that like anthology series. It's gonna
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna
the
have
video games
it's gonna
where
have an
it takes
Unreal
place in them.
episode, a Mega Man episode, and Concord's in there too. Like one
I
of
mean,
these
they're
things is
trying to
not
create
like
an
the other.
IP. The funny thing is I think Concord, there's a market, I think, for a horde style, rail style shooter. So like think of Overwatch, but instead of you going up against other players, you go up against a variety of different styles of missions, things that require stealth, that require certain characters or certain abilities and other things. So the idea is to improvise and to have a tactical way of infiltrating things instead of it just being, because like if you want Guardians of the Galaxy, make the Guardians of the Galaxy game, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a story rich,
Hmm.
character based focus. Like Overwatch, the reason why I stopped playing it was because they decided that the story didn't matter.
Same.
They built up so much cool story and lore,
Hmm.
and then they realized, well, that's not what makes us money.
Yeah.
The skins are what makes us money.
My
So they put all their eggs in that basket.
my boycott of Overwatch 2 was they kept promising single player. I'm like, when it's out, I'll play the game. When until then, I ain't playing it. And then they announced they canceled it. I'm like, guess I ain't playing because I don't really like the 5v5 output. And I got my fill with
Not
the
only
first
that, they
game.
tried to charge people for the incomplete work that they did too.
Yeah,
Like
like
that was a
I
big ick.
I got my fill of the first game, and I will never forget some of the memories of the first game, such as three bastions, if you remember.
Oh gosh, there were what we had tons like Winston coming
And
in.
I still remember the
Yeah,
person who
so
was the play of the game of that one because you yelled at his name. Yeah, fuck you, pay me 86 or something like that.
yeah, it's just like the weird causality and the camaraderie that Overwatch had in its early years, I think was really, really good. I don't know. I guess maybe was it maybe because it got too competitive or it got too monetized? The monetization thing I always feel is an easy thing to just point at and be like, yeah, it's because they monetized it. And like, yes, clearly that is what derailed the game, but what stopped players from playing it? And it you can't just say, "Oh, it's because they didn't want to buy anything." It's not that you need to buy stuff in Overwatch to have
Mhm.
fun. So, what in it, one in and of itself caused people to to not play it. They tried to balance it too much. They tried to make it too competitive rather than being fun.
They pulled a Street Fighter V. They focused on the comp first, and then everything else was later. But the everything else hasn't come yet. In fact, they canceled it. Like, the whole reason I cared about Overwatch 2 was the single player. They kept promising, more PvE content, and not just a seasonal thing like they did in the original game. Actual PvE mode, and instead of doing that, they're like, we make too much money off of microtransactions. Let's just continue to focus on this. And you know what? All the power to them. I guess that's you gotta put the money where where your money is. I mean, again, I'll still won't forgive Fortnite for basically ruining Unreal Tournament, but you know what? I understand.
True, but again, if Fortnite makes money, and I can't deny, man, I started playing it when Zero Build came out. It's a lot more fun when you don't have to have fucking towers being built all over the place.
So funny thing about that, and this is going to get into another point I have. I was actually offered a sponsorship for Fortnite when that happened. And so I thought, you know what? Let me give this a try. And so I played a couple matches, and I didn't last more than a few minutes. And I said to myself, this is not fun for me. I don't care that they took out the building. This is still not fun for me. I don't like battle royale games. I just don't like the idea of you die, you're done. I just don't like that. And I think so I will never like something like Fortnite because I just don't like that type of gameplay. It's to me I
like to say that it's a bad game. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is like it's definitely not for me. Like, if you know, there was another game that came out. I only streamed it one time because it was on free to play. That was basically a beat 'em up, but it was also a one of those the genre battle royale game.
It was a battle royale.
And I didn't realize
wrestling. Was it a wrestling? Was that wrestling one? Okay.
No, it wasn't a wrestling one. And I didn't realize it was a battle royale game until I started playing it. And then I realized very quickly that it was. And I was like, I'm like, no, I don't like this. I'm going to, I tried to give it, I gave it a try. I'm like, I'll try a little more, see if I can get into it. But it's really one of those things where I'm like, I don't like this. It takes me a bit to learn games like that, like online games. And if the only way to learn is by like dying over and over and over again and then not getting a chance to get back up, it's not for me. It's like, and this isn't part of another problem with some of the modern games that have online modes, is how much focus there is on being like being really good, like being like really competitive. Like Dead by Daylight, if I don't play it in a private room, I can't play it online because everybody knows all the stuff and people are toxic in that game. Like it's one of those things where it's like, I can't just go have fun with like slasher villains, because that's what the whole thing I love about that game is it has so much like horror stuff in it, and I love horror, but like I hate the fact that I can't just get in the game and have a chance. I don't have a chance unless I'm playing in a lobby with friends who are also at my level or maybe even better than me by a little bit. But it's just, I can't go into a random lobby and enjoy that. And that's what I liked about the first Overwatch. I could go into a random lobby and I could actually do okay. But
that is attributed to Blizzard's mass player base and to their system of matchmaking that they had perfected over the years of running World of Warcraft.
Exactly.
You know, like the idea of getting people into their right skill levels is very, very important. And Dead by Daylight has a lot of nuance to it, but it also has a lot of exploitability to a certain extent that becomes, instead of it being the devs fix the exploits, they sort of just say, you should learn the exploits. And that's the one thing that I always noticed about Dead by Daylight is certain killers, if you knew how to exploit them, it sucked to try and survive against them. And then the opposite was true of the survivors. If the survivors knew how to play pallets properly, which is a proper tactic, but they also knew like every single area on the map that has like a double pallet system that allows them to pretty much lock you for at least 10 minutes if you decide to really narrow in on them. Because like the idea is that once you notice one of them trying to distract you, you're supposed to go after others, right? Like there's the nuance of the game, and I've never been good at that I was always good as a
Yeah.
survivor in Dead by Daylight, but not very much as a killer. Because
Yeah.
killing was always like you needed to be meticulous. Like, and I don't know how you balance because some people they want that competitivity. Like they need it in their game. Like I love fighting games. You know how much I love
Oh
fighting
yeah.
games. So me getting my ass handed to me is like a compliment most of the time, unless somebody's like fermently cheating, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't very happen unless like clearly the game was broken to begin with or has an exploit that the game developers haven't patched now. Like
Mhm.
back in the old arcade games playing Marvel 2, you never knew if you were just going to face off against Storm and Magneto and Sentinel and then just die because that's just how their gameplay worked if you didn't know how to counter it.
Unless
You
you're my
know, like
brother and
or
you pick Cable and just stand back all the way back and just shoot all the time with Cable.
a
But
real a Mirror Marvel player would
but I
know how to get
have
rid of him.
but ever since you pointed out to me the magnificence of Iceman, he
Iceman.
doesn't get away with it anymore.
No, no chip
No chip
damage.
damage.
No chip damage.
Ice beam.
That motherfucker is climbing the tier list as we speak. As the resurgence of Marvel 2 has come out because of that collection again. Oh my god, it's so funny to see people being like, you know, Iceman's really fucking good. I was like, I fucking told you, he's fire. He's absolute toxic fire flame. And he's a goddamn Iceman.
Yeah, like I think I last time I played Marvel 2 with my brother, I pulled out Iceman. He's like, "Why are you not dying?" I'm like, "Oh, because I don't take chip damage when you shoot me." He's like, "What? That's not fair." I'm like, "You're sitting back and
I'm
shooting me. What do you mean not
I'm made
fair?"
of ice. I'm made of ice, you idiot. What do you think I'm made out of? Air,
Um,
water.
but no, it's just oh man, it's like I think the thing is like the gaming industry is finally getting to a point where these games like I think the thing is we're not getting enough innovation because we're getting a lot of the same stuff but just repackaged as a different like thing. Like people can say what they want, this is not a good example, but like the new God of Wars, it's
Mm.
just like your any other like third person over the shoulder action combat game. They're good, but it definitely looks like a lot of other games. And then there was they're remastering Horizon 1, and the only reason that game sold so well is cuz it was a pack-in game. So I'm like yeah, you're remastering just like with the Last of Us that got remastered twice. You're now remastering a game from last generation that already is PS5 compatible. And so you're either giving us the same stuff we already had remastered, or you're giving us
Yeah,
the same
God.
stuff with a new skin, and you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on it. The only game I see being able to meet that AAA level in the next little bit that's not a remake or a repackage is GTA 6, because that game is going to make like billions
Well,
because
it
it
just
has
has a
to.
pedigree. It has a pedigree. It's just people outside of the gaming sphere know about it,
Yeah.
right? It is the game that will return like gamers from their office jobs. They'll return them back to their gamer caves when GTA 6 comes out, right?
Yeah.
They'll revert back to caveman. It's just how
But
it is.
but I don't think
Yeah, like
GTA 6
Sloppy
is
mentioned COD. Like COD
yeah.
has significantly what in the last 3 or 4 years has just re-released Modern Warfare. They're just re-releasing the games.
Exactly.
And they're not new, and they've actually removed half of the fun shit that was in those original games. And to make sure to hit the nail in the coffin, they decided to destroy the servers of those old PS3 and
Of course.
360.
Of course.
So
Why
you
wouldn't
can't
they?
play them online anymore, so you have to play the remasters.
Yeah. Why
So
wouldn't they? It's one of those things where it's like it seems like the only stuff that is really like becoming like becoming more original is the stuff that's like really like out there, like how popular was Elden Ring, and like it's massive. The DLC just dropped not too long ago, and one of my partners is like, "You're not going to see me for a week," because she loves Elden Ring, and the DLC dropped, and so
See, the thing is, unfortunately, Elden Ring I don't like as an example because that's pedigree. Like Elden Ring is
kind
the
of is.
accumulation of every mistake from Soft made, making from Demon Souls all the way through Dark Souls 3, right?
Oh, dude, you
It
can
is
go
the
back as far as say,
culmination of
like
how crappy some of those games
you
were.
you can go back and
Or
say it's everything they learned from all the way back at Kingsfield, like because Kingsfield, Demon Souls and Dark Souls is literally just a reboot of Kingsfield, is essentially what it is. But they decided to make something different of it, like I guess a spiritual successor you could call it. Anyways, but like they've had time to work on those games and improve them and add new things and work out the kinks. Demon Souls, even remastered, from what I've heard, it still plays like the hot garbage it was on the PS3. So,
Well,
but
no, well, it
people
doesn't
like it.
like it's it doesn't like the PS5. You're talking about Demon Souls on the PS5.
Hmm.
Oh no, they've not made it play like garbage. I mean, it still has some of its
They fixed
jank,
things, but it's still got the same.
but
The yeah.
it's like when Blue Point did Shadow of the Colossus, they made sure that they wanted the physics to feel the same. So you picked up when you played as Wanda in the remake, he should feel almost identical to how he does on the PS2. But obviously, those are two different systems, different code, and all that. It was like they rebuilt both Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus from the ground up. They didn't use old code. They just
Yeah.
remade those
Hmm.
games. So they had to find that balance of trying to find
Hmm.
the jank. But like, for example, magic in Demon Souls, you might as well not use it in the original
Yeah.
Demon Souls.
Hmm.
Whereas in now, it's fucking awesome because it works. And that's the only problem in Demon Souls is there was a couple of coding errors that just made some of the ratios make fire heal people
Hmm.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird shit like that. And again, Elden Ring is the accumulation of their all of their knowledge.
Hmm.
So whenever it's this, I would rather say maybe Breath of the Wild because that would be the
Hmm.
first time that Nintendo had tried to do an open world setting on that scale.
Yeah.
But it as per usual when it comes to open world games, the story can get incredibly either muddied or it can just dissolve into nothing. Like
Oh yeah.
Fallout 4 will always be the quintessential thing that I will point at on how you do not start a open world game. In Fallout 4, you start out, you make your character, it's before the bombs drop, you get frozen, then your newborn child gets abducted by some random people out in the wastes, and then you're let out into the open world. But the idea is that you are a character that just watched a bomb explode, got frozen, watched your partner get shot, your baby gets stolen, and then you're unfrozen. And then what? I just decided to walk off and join a bunch of raiders for no good fucking reason. I just didn't care about my family immediately afterwards. Did I get brain damage when I was in there? No, it's because the art of emergency or the anxiety that you're supposed to feel is ripped when you are given an open world to explore because it is now up to you to find the adventure. It's not directing you. So if you direct people to say, go after your child has been abducted, that is counterintuitive to go out into the open world and explore.
Hmm.
So what ends up happening if you don't follow the storyline of Fallout 4, you can play for 30, 40, 60, hundreds of hours, and then return to the main plot, and your character acts as if they just came out of their fucking coma.
It's
And
it's
that's why I always feel that open world needs to have some sort of rail to it. And FF7 Rebirth, I think, was the first step in the right direction of an open world that still felt railed enough
and it's
that
it's
I
funny.
never felt like I was away from the plot too long.
It's funny you mentioned FF7 Rebirth because that game sold really well and it still didn't meet expectations. Like Square Enix wanted it to sell a whole lot more. And it's just like and I'm starting to see like a big game like that. Are we starting to get to the point where we're now like these games cost so much to make that if they don't nickel and dime you with microtransactions and constantly getting you to stay in the game. Like, is it now not enough anymore for these games to, like, single player games, like a single player games without any microtransactions just seems, it seems more like like a bad investment for a
Well, it's
studio. It's the
obvious. Well, I
thing.
mean, it's
Like,
not. Indie games continuously prove
and
that
that's the thing too.
dynamic
The
wrong.
rise of indie games. Like,
Um,
like we're in an era now where, like, you've got, it's not just one big indie game. There's multiple big indie games. Like, just off the top of my head, I can think of, like, Call of the Lamb, Pizza Tower, one of your favorite games, Stardew Valley. Like, that's a huge game for an indie game.
Hades? Holy fuck, Hades. Like, Hades 2. One of the most anticipated sequels is an indie title. Right?
Exactly.
Like, what are the sequels? A sequel to what is considered, we would consider normally a mainstream. Like, if this had come out in the 90s or the early 2000s, right, it wouldn't be an indie studio. It would be an up and coming studio that was published by Sony or published by Nintendo. Like, we forget that era, and we sometimes poo-poo it, because I remember back in the day, like, people always talked about Capcom sort of selling out there in the 2010s, where they were like, a lot of Western developers got a hold of their IPs and were doing experimental things with them. And I again will vehemently defend DMC as a game. Ninja Theory did a fantastic job making a Devil May Cry game. They just didn't need to remake Devil May Cry. They just didn't need to. They could have just used Dante and Virgil and all of them. They
And
could
it's
have
funny
just
because, like,
used them.
because they that style that they did for that, they've used, there was like an Xbox game that got canceled that they were making that looked like that. And, like,
Okay,
I'm trying to remember.
DMC5 uses one of the core systems in DMC, which is the light dark mechanic, where certain weapons do more damage or can only hurt them in certain ways when you switch styles and stuff. Like, that's from DMC. That's not from Devil May Cry 3 or 2 or 1. It's from the remake. So clearly, like, the guys there saw, but I don't think we're ever going to get another DMC from what it seems like. I think that DMC 5 was the final one.
Yeah,
And
it's,
it ends on a pretty good note, all things
I haven't
considered.
played Devil May Cry 5 yet. I need to play the rest of them, actually. I've only played a little bit of DMC.
At this point, I have no idea whether or not Virgil sitting in a lawn chair at the top is real or not anymore. That meme of him sitting up there with a lawn chair, I can't even remember if he was just kneeling there, or if that's a mod, or was he actually just sitting in that chair? It's one of those things. And, like, that's the funny thing. You may not even know what context I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but you will. You will
Yeah, I
eventually
will.
when you get
I
to
do
it.
want to play through the Devil May Cry games at some point, especially after going back and looking at old clips and getting to One Roll's playthrough and the "fuck you Dante" part where he burst out laughing and we were there too and we saw it.
I want to fill her dark soul with light.
Oh God.
Sorry,
Devil May
too
Cry
much. That was
2.
too well acted. Sorry.
Yeah. Or so light.
Yeah. Okay. So the lawn chair mod. He wasn't actually sitting in a lawn chair. Yeah, it was a viney chair. Okay. Thank goodness. It's one of those things where the mod community can sometimes bleed over into
Oh my God. Just
your own thing.
You just reminded me
Yes.
of something I heard today. So, they announced new Starfield stuff, and holy fuck, Starfield was a train wreck. It's to the point, like, the people who
So it's
mod
like,
the game,
what is
who
that?
mod
Is it
those
Fallout in
games,
space? Is it Fallout in space? Is it Skyrim in space?
it's
What
hard to
is Starfield?
it's hard to explain. The only way I could say that to get a proper explanation of it is, I haven't played it. I watched Nakey Jakey's video on Starfield, so, and him going through all of the Bethesda stuff that he likes, getting up to that game, but I heard a quote recently that even the people who mod games, like modders, don't want to mod Starfield because it's not fun. Like, they're like, even them trying to make the game, to make something out of the game to make it fun, is just not fun. The main problem with Starfield is that there's going back to the open world thing you were talking about. You play one of the other Bethesda games like Skyrim. You're like, you got to do a mission or something, or a quest or whatever. There's stuff to do on the way. In Starfield, you're just walking on an empty planet to get from point A to point B. Something that could have been, a fast travel. But
But
no,
like
there's nothing to
there's
do.
another game that does that. It's called No Man's Sky, and a lot of
Yeah.
people like that now. And that's a lot of open planet walking around, from what I hear.
But No Man's Sky had stuff to do even when it first came out. Like there were species and stuff you can look for. Starfield literally, like, there are points of the game where there's all you're doing is walking from point A to point B. There's nothing to do in between them. Like, and apparently the gunplay is even worse than it's been in previous Bethesda games. Like I don't know how, like I try not to play Fallout without the VATS because the gunplay kind of sucks. And in
Well, I
Starfield,
mean-
Starfield does not have VATS unless you're in your spaceship. And so imagine that without the option to do that. You just have to use the shooting mechanics in that game. It's, oh my God, it's just, there's just so much. I haven't even played the game, and it enrages me. Like the amount of stuff.
I don't
that's
know
wrong
if I
with
could
it.
ever get that mad at a game that I've never played. That's nothing
Like-
that's ever hit me like that before. But if it felt like I did hear about, like, I played Cyberpunk 2077. Again, that is one of those games that aged like a fucking fine wine. I loved it at release. I didn't have the issues that a lot of people had. My PC was on the cusp of being able to run that thing. So I was able to play it, and then I eventually did pick it up on my PS5, and I actually experienced it properly for the first time with the Phantom Liberty DLC. And like, oh my God, dude. Like it like, I understand why people are having an issue, because as I'm going around Cyberpunk, yes, I can't just go into every single house and building and stuff, but that's not what I want to do. Like, I'm not loading. I may have to get in an elevator and go up a shaft, but I'm at ground level and I need to get, upstairs. They don't have teleporters. I'm a peasant. Like that type of stuff, right? But if every single time it feels like you're just going from load screen to load screen, that's Skyrim. That's like you're playing Skyrim. You're playing a game from the 2000s.
So Jakey in his video had his sister, who is like a preschool teacher, coming into a segment in his video, be like, "Can you say loading screen? Loading screen? Can you say fast travel to loading screen? Loading screen?" Like stuff like that. Like she was like, he basically had her put it down, the problems in like the most basic manner that a young child could understand it. That like that game
Again, but
Starfield
like,
is just,
how
man.
how old is that engine though? Like, is it
And this
is
is
it
the
a
thing,
modified?
and this is the-
is it a
and-
modified engine though?
And
Is it a
you know
modified
what?
engine?
This is what they say. And Jake, and just to quote Jake again, be like, "I see that 2 at the end of the engine. You ain't fooling anybody with that. It's literally the same code. The same code they've been using since Morrowind. And you can tell. There's a bug from Fallout 3 that's in Fallout 4 that is in Starfield.
That's good.
It's
I mean,
the
that's
same
consistent.
code.
Hey, that's consistency. At some point, is it a bug or is it a feature?
It's
Zero?
not a feature.
Are you
can't-
sure it's not a feature?
Starfield is the limit for where you can say, "Oh, it's a Bethesda game." You can't say that anymore. It's now like, okay, you're gonna like, and I just don't understand. ZeniMax owns Bethesda. Or I guess it's technically, they're owned by Microsoft now. So Microsoft owns ZeniMax. ZeniMax owns Bethesda and id Software. id Tech 5 is right there. It's right there. Or 7, sorry. id Tech 7 is right there. Train some of your guys to use id Tech 7 instead of using Creation Engine or whatever the fuck this thing is called with a 2 at the end of it. Oh my God. Like, your neighbor company has a really good engine that's right there. It's right there. And none of the Doom games, the newer Doom
I'm sure.
games, run
I'm sure
bad.
there's licensing agreements and weird bullshit. that
I'm
we
sure,
don't,
but
like,
then just
as a
use-
gamer, I try my best not to feel like it's so easy, because like, I've been sort of shadow writing a story, and I've been sort of working on an RPG on the side, and I've realized that like, trying to piece
And
together an RPG. I'm using fucking RPG Maker because it's just so much easier than writing my own goddamn code.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I guess I'm going to reveal this here. The secret project that I worked on last month was a game that was going to be for a game jam. So now I'm learning. So my partner Sky, she has her own game studio called Rosin, and they've made a ton of like visual novel games.
Mhm.
And so I'm working on a detective game with them where I'm directing and co-writing it and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we didn't make the time for the Spooktober Game Jam, but we decided we're going to release it next year, and we're going to spend some time for the rest of this year just making it so it doesn't feel rushed because we were rushing to meet a deadline. So I've gotten experience firsthand now, finally, since the last time I did game dev in like 2008, with actually developing a game. It's not easy,
Right.
and I'm not saying that like when I say just use that engine, like it's so easy, you just train your guys. It's not. You're gonna have to spend time, but that's my point. You have this thing that's like broken and not good, and you're trying to like just like put more duct tape on it to try to fix problems that are just gonna come back. When at some when is enough for a game studio to
Uh,
say, okay, maybe let's take a
when the
year and
marketing
learn a new
budget,
thing.
when the marketing budget is less than the development cost.
That's the problem too. It's like
That is the only time when it will ever end up being a better product is if they don't spend as much time on marketing. And even then, it feels like they didn't market Concord at all, right? Like it
yeah,
failed, but like it was so weird. It like even like I'm not in the gaming sphere. I understand that. I'm not always constantly with my thumb on the pulse, but like I felt like it's like Concord was releasing in a week. I'm like, oh, biggest PlayStation game of all time? Question
dude,
mark. I've never
I
heard of this. And then
dude, I
2
knew
weeks later, it was gone. And I was like, what happened?
dude,
What's going?
I knew of Concord because of because I people liked my reaction to the all the gaming events and stuff, so I knew of it. It kept coming up, but I was like, if it's one of those games that I have no interest in, I just don't look any more into it. But apparently, I knew more than most people, like the average person looking at this game, who only found out about it when it was gone. Like
Mhm.
it's one of those things where it's like I even my limited amount of like getting my information on like from like these events, Summer Games Fest, TGS, all this stuff. I still don't know anything about this game other than it's a hero shooter. That's all I did. So it was definitely poorly marketed.
Mhm.
But the thing that sucks about this is all these games not making as much money as they used to and not meeting expectations. They can make tons of money. The
But
problem is
what is
then
expectation? Like we don't even know what the expectation is anymore.
and
They
that's the
don't even
problem.
tell us.
And that's the problem too. And so instead of, they won't cut the CEO salary. They won't cut the executive salary. They'll lay off the people who spent 80 hours a week making this game because it didn't sell, it didn't meet the expectations. And so and like we're going to get to a point where like you're going to lay so many people off, they're just going to start their own studios, make their own games, and they're
Mhm.
going to outsell your games because they don't need $100 million budgets. They can do it on a couple million and sell the game for like 20
Yeah.
to $30 a piece, and it outsells your other games. There's going to be a point in the industry where people are going to have to realize you can't just throw money at something and expect the game to sell. Like
Sure.
we're getting to that point now, and and that's
But
why
like
I'm like
also
so
and also
happy.
there's also this weird thing that's going on. Like Final Fantasy 16 should have been this like really big Final Fantasy. Like it was a return to form. It was supposed to be like after 15 taking so long, having, my Lord and Savior Yoshi P, like Naoki Yoshida being the director, having Soken and all the music. The game is fantastic. It has problems. I have some issues with some of the pacing of the story. I haven't played the DLC of it yet, but it's like there was all this push for 16, and then it came out, and then it's like the whole machine decided to just be like, and they just stopped. So I guess they were hoping that the hype, like that people would go online and discuss or continue the experience. But that's the thing, is when you provide a single player experience, especially one that's story rich like 16, and hell, even Persona 5, like these story driven games you experience once, and the only reason why you would want to maybe experience them a second time is because you haven't played it in X number of years. Like I probably will play Persona 5 again, not in like the next 5 years probably, but I will want to pick it up like I always pick up Persona 3. And I haven't even picked up the remake of 3 yet. And 3 is my favorite because it has the best and most interesting story that fit squarely between that weird high school drama and the weird ass Shin Megami Tensei crap.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like happy-go-lucky with a little bit of existential crisis. It was all existential crisis, and the only caveat of happiness you got was going to spend time with Yuko in the gym. That was the only time you were allowed to be happy in Persona 3. Right? Whereas in the opposite seems to be the true is now you're having fun in the palaces and you're not having as much fun as you're a student. But maybe that's just because I'm 30. I'm in my 30s. I'm not a high school student anymore.
Yeah. I played a little bit of Persona 3 when I got it on PS2. And so that one is pretty neat. I kind of like that one. But the only version of Persona 3 I finished was the dancing game. So I can't talk.
Just to sort of, sorry, I didn't mean to push away from, but my point really is the fact that people want to experience 16. So they experience it, they buy it, and then they put it away. You don't need to play 16 again. You could. There's a new game plus that invigorates the combat because you get all of the stuff that Clive gets throughout the original playthrough right at the beginning. So all the old bosses have new mechanics that work with, your abilities and stuff. So it's called Final Fantasy mode for a whole reason. It's like the penultimate version of the game. Like you're supposed to play it on Final Fantasy mode, really. Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to play 16. Like I've seen some gameplay.
It's just cool. It's so good, and I mean Ben Starr, the actor that plays him, like he should have won the award. I mean, Astarion is Astarion. I can't deny that Neil has his charm. There's just something about Neil. He deserves all the credit for playing Astarion. But sorry, Ben takes the character motif for me because Clive is fantastic. He is the quintessential part of that story, and he's also the crux of why I give it a 7 out of 10 as an overall game. Mm-hmm. Just a fantastic video game, great soundtrack, by my favorite director, by my favorite musician. Like the A team at Square Enix was on 16, and it feels as if the internet forgot about it, or like Sony didn't want to promote it.
I think it also is the fact that like everybody's so on the pulse of the Final Fantasy VII remakes. And so people are like, when they hear Final Fantasy, they're going to think two things, 7 or 14. That's what they're going to think. Like, you can't deny that's what people think. I say Final Fantasy to some people and they think, oh, you play 14. I'm like, no, I play all of the other ones though, except maybe that 11. And so like, but I will say one thing that 14 is good about is that it's introduced people to the other games. Like somebody actually asked me the other day, like, oh, I was talking about the Magitech armor. Like, oh, I got that in 14. I'm like, yeah, it's from Final Fantasy 6. They're like, oh,
it plays Terra's theme while you're on the Magitech armor.
And a friend of mine's like, was like, hey, I checked out 6 because the Pixel remaster is out and I'm playing it and I'm really enjoying it. I'm like, that's what 14's great for. It promotes the rest of the franchise too. So
it's an amusement park. It is designed as a Final Fantasy amusement park. The Gold Saucer, people just log on to go to this fictional casino place to play card games all day. That's all they do. They don't play the actual game.
I had to make a new account a couple years ago because somebody was getting married in the game and they invited me and I was like, oh fuck, I guess I better get up to level 15 so I can get to the things.
Oh yeah, at least it's so easy. It's so fast these days. And remember, it's free up to the third expansion.
Mm-hmm, yep, I've only heard that a million times. I have considered because I've told you my I just can't, why I couldn't get into 14 as much. I've considered though paying the money to get the boost, speeding through a Realm Reborn to get to Heavensward, so I can start experiencing that part of the story. It's just, I think my main thing is like getting up in the levels is my problem, and to get to some of the stuff that I want to get to, because I want to experience the story of 14. And I have a ton of people I know now who that's the game they play. There's streamers I know that they only stream 14, VTubers that only play 14, for example. And so I have all these people saying to me, you should play it, you should try it. I'm like, I have tried 4 times to get into
Final
but
Fantasy 14, and again, I've introduced you to it, and I've never shown you my character. I've never taken you and shown you what it's like in either the mid or the late game, because obviously the early game is early game. It's all every RPG, every game, you're never going to be doing all the cool shit right away. Like
Yeah.
I know for a fact that you love Red Mage as a class, but you need
That's
to
what,
be
and it's
level
in the
50.
game, yeah.
Yeah, and you need to be level 50 for that. So you need to be out of A Realm Reborn.
That's why I've
Right? So
considered paying the money so I could just get to that level. So even if they don't give me red
and
mage
like
right away,
some
because I
people
have
would
to.
say that that's like you that totally makes sense. Heaven Sword is like a solid, fantastic, good entry. It's where the voice actors change, right? Like they have to understand A Realm Reborn is a weird black sheep, and they've been throughout the years fixing it to in quotation marks. Like they've changed around some of the mechanics. A lot of the dungeons you can actually do solo now. You don't even need to play with other people. You can just go in with a bunch of
and
NPCs.
and it's
Like they've onboarded single player. Actually, to some detriment to I think that the early game feels a little too
and dude,
onboardy because you don't actually interact with people
and
in the MMO.
you know all this because you are a 14 veteran. You played 1.0.
I played
You
1.0.
you played didn't you
I'm
play the
a
beta too? Like weren't you in like early access of that game?
I played the first closed beta, and then I didn't play it after that. I played the beta and said no. But then as things progressed and as the team switched over and they got a new director and they were trying to pretty much fix the game, I said they made it free, so I came back. So I played for a while and it was free for a while. And then they started the Meteor arc, which is everything that leads up to the cinematic at the beginning of A Realm Reborn. And that hooked me. I started paying for my sub again because they started charging again, saying that we're going to be making a sequel. You'll get half off the expansion on top of if because I'm a veteran legacy character, I get half off my subscription for the rest of my time. So even if I were to stop being a subscriber, if I came back, I'm still a legacy character. I can still get it. So
Your
I'm only
grandfather
paying like
in. Yeah.
yeah, I'm so grandfathered in at this point. My character has a tattoo, has a special tattoo,
That you only
that
get for
marks
playing
me
the game at the start.
from at
Like the
that.
very,
Like
very
you have to
beginning.
understand, I have my head is so far up Square Enix's ass. I have at least paid for one of their yachts. I'm fairly sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Like
I'm sure. And
so
just in
when so
Fantasia's alone.
it's funny because so I see like because the game has become so popular and people are getting into it more recently, they don't always know what it was, and so
Yes.
like that's why I'm like I have at least one person I know who played the game when it came out when it first came out, not Realm Reborn, when it first came out, and knows what that went through, and that brings me to another good point is like these games like
Okay,
Cyberpunk
like things
and like
that
No
date
Man's
me.
Sky.
Red Chocobo, the Red Chocobo, Raubon Extreme. These things don't mean anything to you, but any
Yeah.
veterans that hear those words know exactly what I'm talking about. The Red Chocobo is still one of the funniest things that ever happened. So think of it this way. Everybody wanted to unlock a new alliance raid. So it's a 24 man where 24 people get to go in and fight off against 4 bosses and a little bit of trash. But there was this one little quest that you have to do to unlock it. And you have to go get a red chocobo feather. So you go there and then it summons a red chocobo, but it summons meteors that strike the ground and you have to walk out of them. But what would happen per se if a bunch of people wanted to unlock said 24 man at the same time? They would all summon their own individual red chocobos, causing mass extinction in the entire zone because all of them launched their meteors and killed people by the thousands, where they had to line up queues. Players were actually lining up to queue the quest. That's how bad it got because people were summoning too many of them and crashing it.
So
There was a fish that if you fished it out of the Bronze Lake on Zalera server, it would crash the data center. Like there's been
That's amazing.
weird ass shit in this game that
So-
nobody knows about.
Okay, let me ask you: do you have anything from then that's still in your inventory that shows
Yes.
that you were from there? Okay.
Yes, I do.
So
I
you
have
do you
tons of
still have
stuff
the
from there.
feather?
I have the chocobo. I
Mm-hmm.
have a couple of plumes. I spent a lot of my feathers because those were trade-ins for like certain memorabilias and stuff.
But you
But like
have
the
stuff.
drought chocobo
the
and all that type of
the
stuff and
thing that
fat
I'm
chocobo and
the
all
thing
that.
that I'm saying is you have stuff that other players don't have
Yeah.
because they couldn't get it because that game was already
Mhm.
done and switched over to
Some of the
Realm
stuff I
Reborn.
don't have that some players I do know have though are some of the 1.0 exclusive achievements
Mm.
that have titles that are linked to them. And if you didn't do those hamlets back then and unlocked those achievements in 1.0, there is no way to get those titles anymore. So anybody that was in 1.0 that did those hamlets that got those titles, they like that's probably the rarest thing. Uh, I don't even think what I have some keys. Like there were these weird like cookie key things in one of my retainers that was from an event back in 1.0. But a lot of those 1.0 items are now just question marks. They don't even appear as actual objects anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, man, like I think about 14 and I think about No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk and I think about all these games that came out in such poor states but had their redemption just over time. Like 14 is the biggest example of that because of how they had to basically redo the entire fucking game to make it playable again. Like it's insane
But
to me to think
everything
that.
runs better on Crystal Dynamics, Zero. Everything runs perfect on Crystal Dynamics.
Oh boy, Crystal Dynamics.
Crystal
Um,
Dynamics.
but
That's
it's like,
Square Enix.
yeah, but like it's those games like the problem is like those are stories of them like rising out from like what they had to do
Yeah.
and
But
but
again,
unfortunately,
why? Like No Man's
mhm,
Sky, Final Fantasy 14, like they could have just
Cyberpunk
died.
they
Cyberpunk, they
could
could
have,
have
yeah,
just died. Like especially Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, they like CD Projekt Red could have easily just wiped their hands of it saying, we'll do better next time." But they realized, "Damn, we fucked up.
yeah,
We fucked up real hard." And
hmm,
we could tell that it wasn't the developers, it was the execs,
hmm,
right? And when we realize as gamers that it is not the development team, it is the higher ups, and as gamers we are becoming much more aware of this. It is becoming much more predominant, and as games become more relevant in news cycles too, where you see Blizzard being taken to court and other things like that, people's minds are thinking about this more, and they may actually really be, putting their mouth where their wallet is, or their wallet where their mouth is. I don't want to purchase Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, not because I don't think it will be fun, not because I don't want to spend the time, but because it's just too much time I need to invest, and I could easily just watch someone on YouTube play through it.
in
And
my
I
opinion,
truly think that YouTube has affected the gaming industry in a weird way. Like I like the fact that I can go on and look and watch people play Persona 5 and react to the things that I've reacted to. But then I have to take a step back and realize that there are people that just watch them play through those games. Like their experience of Persona 5 isn't them playing the game, making the choices, it's them watching Co Carnage play through it, or John Awesome, or something like that, right? It becomes the gamers aren't gaming, they're watching professional gamers game.
and I'll admit like being a streamer and part of the problem because some people are coming to me looking watching me play the games that they might never ever get, but a lot of the times what happens because according to the internet world farts, um I stream games that people have never heard of and then they want to look into it, and I think that it's a double-edged sword. They could just sit there and watch me play the game and they say they got it, that's the experience they wanted, or hey, I played a game that they've never heard of. Like I get a lot of codes for indie games these days and I like to play indie games because I think indie games are going to save this industry. I think like it's some of the best. Like years and years ago you'd hear like one big indie game and that would be the big indie game for the year, but now we've got like handfuls of them that are just because people are tired of the same the same thing from the AAA stuff. And so,
Hmm.
but people aren't always aware because these indie games don't have, huge marketing budgets like these companies have. So if I get a code from a company and I play a game and I'm enjoying it, and the chat's like, this looks really fun, where can I get it? I'll tell them, oh, you can get it on Steam, you can get it on Switch, whatever. And then they're getting a chance to experience these games, even retro games. That's why I love doing 16-bit Winter, which is the 10th year is happening this year. And I have a
I played
special
through
surprise for
Ace
that.
Ventura for one of those.
You
Those
did, you
things.
did, and that was
Yeah.
awesome to watch.
That was,
But
oh gosh, that was back when I was living with Jax. Gosh,
damn.
that's a kickback.
But yeah, no, I have and
Excuse
I'm
me.
very interested to like get back into that and play some of the games. Like one game that I really want to play this year is I really want to play Final Fantasy 2. I mean 4, the Super Nintendo version of 4, because I have it now.
Oh, okay.
And so I'd like to play it off original hardware if I can, because I have an HDMI adapter for my SNES and
Actually, this is the
the
best
stuff.
time. This is the best time to
Mhm.
play for because they just sort of wrapped up a storyline that was very similar to 4 in Final Fantasy 14.
And that's just going back to 14. Like my friend Esky, he
There you
tells me
go.
about things that he learned about the other games in 14 because he got to experience it. We watched Garo in my server for Toku Tuesday, and they all wanted to watch it because they played
Because
14
it's
and
in
they knew what it
14.
was.
I
The,
tried to get you into 14 because Garo was in it. I was like,
yeah,
"Hey man, Garo's in this. You got to play PvP."
but I
Because
learned it was PvP, and I was like, oh god, God, I don't know if I could do.
no, no. See, that's the cool thing is Frontlines. Everybody doesn't know what the fuck they're doing in Frontlines. So you
Mhm.
just run around and like cast a spell every once in a while. You are doing more work than about 70% of the bots that are in there right now.
But
So if
but
you
no,
you
yeah,
cast your Verwind on that stone and you feel good about it in PvP, you
yeah, like
understand?
like
Never
while
feel
I
bad.
while I'm not as big into this game as everybody else, I appreciate the things it does because we finally finished watching Garo like a couple months ago, and we loved it because out of all the tokusatsu stuff I've ever shown, it's probably one of the most adult because it was made for adults. And they were, and like Esky and my buddy Robbie and all them who play 14, who were like really like, they were like, now I know what this is about and it's awesome. And now I have a new perspective for this armor and weapons and stuff that I have. And there's
Mhm.
apparently a mount, I guess, that's
Yep.
Garo
There's
related.
three. There's three mounts that
Yeah.
are related to it.
So and a lot of the stuff that I was shown was from the first series. So they got to experience that. We all watched the first series. It's only 25 episodes, but
You
we
like you
watched it
have to
together.
understand that series was new when that content originally came out in 14. So that's
Yeah.
why it's only the first season. It's because that's was the only armors that were out then.
Yeah, and Garo came out in like 2005, 2006, something like that. It came out
Mhm.
like it's pretty old. Like it's still 4x3 and stuff like that, for example. So, but no, it was just a cool thing that like these people who like know what it is because of 14 now are experiencing the show with me, and they're loving it because they're like,
Mhm.
this is what this armor is from. This is what it
Okay.
means.
I will state, and this is just my own thing. I want to get this out there right now. Dawn Trail, the new expansion, pretty good. I was expecting Final Fantasy 14 Monster Hunter. I did not get that. I did not get that, and I was kind of disappointed. But all in all, it's a pretty good
But you
expansion.
guys already got Rathalos, and he actually stays out of the sky.
Yes. Oh well, you have to hit him out of the sky. You got it. You have to do enough damage that he falls out, and then you got to cut his tail off.
Can you can you mount
You know,
him?
and you know the funny thing is back when he first came out, like you could attack his tail and it would you could quote unquote carve it, but it wouldn't fall off. But 2 years later, they decided to go back to that fight and make it so the tail actually flies off of him
Dude, you reminded me.
during the fight,
I still haven't beaten
which is so
Behemoth
odd. Like,
in
why go
World.
back? Ah, yes.
I still haven't beaten Behemoth. Every time I try it with friends, we fail. And it's not because of
Oh no.
me. It's because other people fuck up or something happens and we get like one-shotted or something like that. And so
Shout out to Blondie Scott and Kevin for sure. They helped me defeat Behemoth.
yeah, I still
It
need
was
to
yeah. We
I
were
still
trying
need
to
to beat
get you, but
Bass.
I can't remember what you were up to. You were doing something at the time when we were all
Probably.
trying to get it done. Like we spent like 3 or 4 hours going at it.
Ah, okay. That might have been it.
Like
I might not have
yeah,
had
it
the
was one
time.
of those things where like you just weren't around that time for some
Yeah.
reason. It was just one of
So
those times, and you'd shown up so late.
yeah, I still need to I still need to beat Behemoth. I still need to
Hmm.
fight some of the later stuff in World that they added like Fatally and stuff. But um, it's okay. CJ, I have an important question. You're gonna probably
Okay,
roll your eyes at this question for Final Fantasy
meow,
14.
meow,
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 meow.
meow.
Is that your answer?
I guess. Sure. I mean, yeah, it's probably. It's trust
You know,
me, Final Fantasy 14 has a lot of eye-rolling
you
things, dude. It's gonna take a
you
lot of things to cause
you
my
know
eyes
what
to
I'm
roll
gonna
in
ask.
14.
I think you know what I'm gonna ask.
Probably, but you got to ask it anyway, right?
Is Farfist in the game yet?
It's not yet, unfortunately. And which is actually weird because they gave a bunch of the other melees actual long-range attacks, but they didn't give the monk one.
Wait, there's no air renderer Farfist, but they gave it to other characters?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Really?
no, Dragoon, you throw your spear, you
What?
throw kunai as a ninja,
Yoshi
you
P, what the
know?
hell?
Yeah, the Viper, the new class, you like throw your swords that like boomerang
Give
back.
the
Like,
monk air render at least.
no, they're not allowed to punch the
Has
air.
Yoshi P played Final Fantasy Tactics?
No. Actually, yes, he has played it for
Then put air render in
the
the
game.
game.
Okay, like you have to understand that most likely the 14 universe takes place in the Evilise timeline.
Oh man. I
So
need to
if you like the Evilise timeline, which I know you
so many
do,
people have told me, "Hey, Zero, Evilise is in 14." I'm like, I still don't care.
yes. Yeah, oh
like,
yes.
like I still
Yeah.
like there needs to be something more
And
than it's there.
and they seem to be heading in the direction that it is going to be leaning towards anima in the near future as the main antagonist,
Okay,
which is part of Final Fantasy Tactics and
let me
Ivalice.
let me ask you an important question. Let's
Now,
say because I have a debut for this new model, like the design you
now,
guys are seeing on stream right now, but I have a debut for this model coming up. If I made one of the debut goals to try to stream or even just try to play 14 for some kind of content and I did the boost thing,
mhm.
would you be interested in playing the game with me for that?
Yeah, for sure.
Because
If
I feel
I
like
like, I mean, I do work, but like, if there
I
are
know
times, like at certain times, like
we can schedule it.
I try to log on to 14 every 2 to 3 days. It's just one of those things, just to make sure I'm keeping up with my friends and I don't lose things like my houses and other things that are more of a daily grind,
Yeah.
right? But like if you say I'm going to do it every Saturday and you want to play through Heavensward, I will be one of your
Because what
dungeon mates.
because what I understand.
I can actually play through the game with you again. I
Yeah.
can load New Game Plus and we can do all the quests together.
Well, from what I understand, if you pay for the boost to, you can choose to skip a Realm Reborn, or you can
Well,
still play it. You just
there's
get
two
the
types. There's the
okay,
level boost and then there's the story boost.
okay.
The
So it's the
story
level
boost
boost. I
pushes
think is what
you.
I would do.
Yeah, the level boost means that you don't have to go through the rigmarole of leveling. You can
Okay.
just do the story. Like you could just follow the main quest.
Hmm.
Like obviously the main quest is designed to level you, so I would not do it on your level 50 because you wouldn't gain any of the good experience that way because all of those previous quests in A Realm Reborn are 50 below. So if you're 51, it gives you 1,000 EXP. It's to prevent you from like stockpiling a bunch of like random quests like hundreds of years ago and then just bulk use it to level up some like level
Well,
80 or whatever.
my point is if I do that, I get the level boost. I still experience the story of A Realm Reborn, but I don't have to spend extra time trying to level my character. I can just get to all the
Yeah.
story beats I want to get to. Is that
Yeah,
fine?
I actually think that you could start at level 1 and just play because if you start at level 50, you have all of your level 50 skills. You do not level up congruently the same way that you would a normal RPG. So like you start at level 50, you have all your level 50 skills. I would have to train you on how your rotation works rather than you learning how it works as you level because you unlock the skills and as each one adds to your rotation, you get to learn the class a little bit more. Now, level 50 isn't that bad like most people are at level 50 now, right? It's designed as the entry level. So I don't think it would be difficult for you, but I do want to warn you that the game is designed to get you past a Realm Reborn very fucking fast. Like they don't want you spending time in there. So that like at level 1, the first quest will level you to level 5. Like it can be that ridiculous with its EXP
Because
getting.
okay, that means they've changed it then. Because the last time I played it, like I felt like I was wasting time just leveling up, so I could
Yes,
get to a
yes.
certain dungeon.
And you were correct back then. Like they
Hmm.
obviously back like a few years, like 6 years ago, when the last time I think I showed it to you was when Stormblood was out. They didn't even have the free trial yet. Right?
Yeah,
So they
no, they
were
didn't.
trying to keep people playing A Realm Reborn. Whereas in now, because we're in Dawn Trail, they want people to get into Shadowbringers and into Endwalker. They want people in those zones
My
because that's where the bulk of players are now.
I think the only other problem is too is I've started it 4 different times on different accounts, and Square Enix does not make it easy to recover anything. So I don't know how I'm probably gonna have to make a brand new email and all this shit. But I guess
No,
what
if
good?
you can, as long as you never canceled or like went to Square Enix and said, I want you to cancel my account, don't open it again, it should still be there.
Can
Your
I start
character should
over with? Can I?
Your
I
your
guess I can
character
make a
your
new character.
character that
Yeah.
you made should still be there. It may
I,
not be on the same server. Like they do have a tendency to have dormant characters. Like let's just say there's a an influx of characters on Ultros, like the server that I'm on, and it has a bunch of dead characters, like people that made a bunch of alts and they haven't logged on to those characters in almost a year. They may shuffle those characters into different servers if they're not linked to a house or an FC.
but I guess I could just,
Which
if I get into one of the other accounts, I could just make a new character.
yes,
Essentially.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So yeah. So as long because I have I still have the app on my phone
Mhm.
for Play Online or whatever the fuck it's called
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah,
Um.
and you don't have to worry about whatever server you choose now. I can data center travel and server travel to anywhere now.
Okay.
Except for the EU. I can't go we can't as North Americans go to the EU servers.
That's fair.
However, we can go to the oceanic
I
servers.
I just want to stay away from the RP server. That's all.
Oh, Balmung. Just don't go to Balmung.
Balmung. Yeah, I'm not going to Balmung.
Don't be a cat girl in Balmung. That's all I'll say. Just don't be a cat girl in
But I
Balmung.
am a.
I know you're a cat girl, you just can't, especially with your giant penis. You can't show that thing on Balmung, okay? You just can't.
You'll make a scene. Anyways.
No. The scene will be made for you. You aren't
Fuck.
making the scene, they will. That's the difference.
we get lost. We accidentally end up in Balmung. Like, oh no, we have to run. Why?
No, you don't. You don't end up on Balmung. You choose to go to Balmung, and it's your fault.
So, okay, and is it the meme where like when you ask somebody, "Hey, what server are you on?" They're like,
I'm on
Balmung.
Balmung. Oh, are you okay? What do you mean? Oh, you should get off of Balmung.
Well, it was the only one that was freed up.
and then like 2 weeks later, you see them on your friends list, and they are now on Zalera, and you're like, oh, I see you're on Zalera, and they're like, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable on Balmung.
So there is one
But
thing
then
I
there are
should.
people that embrace Balmung. Remember that it is a place. It's like Mos Eisley. Think of it like
Mo-
that,
You will never
like the
find a
passport.
more wretched hive
Wretched
of scum
hive,
and
scum
villainy.
and
We
villainy.
must be cautious.
Of ERPers and fur lovers.
You just and one thing I'll just say here is you may have noticed, but I did fall into a gotcha game, but one that doesn't ask me for money all the time. I
Okay, rail.
I do play Honkai Star Rail now, yeah, and I do
Yes.
have, and yes, I have collected some of my waifus, and I
I
have
played
had
Genshin
cannons and
Impact
stuff.
for a little while. I played Genshin Impact for a
I
little
can't
while.
get
I will
back to
not.
it, even though I was in the States and they had the thing where you get free primo gems with getting a pie, like from McDonald's. I still was
Oh
like,
my
I
god.
can't. Honkai Star Rail's the better game, and just going back to what we were saying, it's turn based, so
It's turn-based.
like, and I
Yeah.
love it. It actually it
But it's
does
got sexy waifus and sexy husbandos. Like
it does
I
the
don't know what you want.
it
Like
does
what else do
the
you want?
it does okay, and see, and it does what my favorite Final Fantasy game does. It has the similar system to Final Fantasy X, where it shows you the turn order and it's not ATB. You make your decisions. Not like there's big decisions to make. It's, do I use one of my ability points or do I not use one of my ability points? Oh, I have my alt. I should use my alt.
Have you
Like, it's
played
one of those
Octopath
things.
Traveler? Speaking of point
No,
system that's
but
turn based.
Octopath Traveler 2 has been on sale at a Best Buy near my work, and I've considered picking it up because it's like 30
Yeah.
bucks.
And you
So,
don't like, good thing is it's one of those like sequels, but it's not a sequel. It's like this, just
mhm,
another story about 8 other
mhm,
travelers, right? So you don't need to know what happened in the first one. I mean, it does help because there's a lot of like nods and stuff like that, but
mhm.
it's just as good. And that system of like building up and like adding to your characters, like if you like that, then you'd probably like
Oh, you
Octopath
just
because that's
remembered
the
me.
whole point.
I made a big deal about Live Alive getting remade, and I still haven't played it. So, which is apparently like Octopath, is what I heard. Like,
Oh,
or
okay.
Octopath's a lot like it. So, I need to play that. Damn, there's so many games I need to play. This is my problem
Yep.
too.
We have
there's
no
not
time.
enough
We have
time.
no time anymore.
Exactly.
We're in our fucking 30s now. We have no
Thank God
time.
for that I have streaming, so I have regular schedule to play games because it
Mhm.
forces me to play some of these games that I would like. Yeah, this is a fun game. I'll play it, and then I won't.
Yeah.
And so like just like right now, like just to reveal this now on Monday, Sky and I are going to do Zelda Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons together. I'm playing Ages, she's playing Seasons, and we're going to be streaming it both of our sides on each
Nice.
other's stream. So tomorrow night I'm going to be setting up for that. That's our next Monday night
That it
collab game.
has, Nightman.
Um, yeah, Nightman, thank you for the raid. By the way, we were just with the
Yeah.
podcast. Just yeah. Um, so, anyways, so yeah, so that's like something I'm like I played those games as a kid. I never finished them. Now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish them because I'm gonna have my two partners here to make sure that I finish them, and I'm gonna stream it. So chat will make sure I finish them too. So,
There you
um,
go.
and then just having Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, I picked it up for Switch. But we were so deep into World that I just didn't touch it. And now every Wednesday night I play it with Blondie, SCR, Tiger Ichimaru, sometimes One Roll, like the RCG guys. I play it with them, and we're getting through it. My goal is to finish it before Wilds comes out because I know as soon as Wilds comes out, I ain't going back to this game for a while.
No. No,
So,
like I'm actually like I'm waiting for Wilds at this point.
mhm.
I sort of hopped off the bandwagon there. I played obviously World a lot, and I never picked up the new one.
Oh,
uh
Rise.
Rise. So I just sort of like said, meh. And I've gone back to World. I've plugged World back into my PS5 every once in a while and jigged around and fought Odegarin and all
I've
that
been
type of stuff.
replaying World because I have it on my Steam Deck now. So I just fart around in it on there because I can get the game to run at 60 frames on the Steam Deck. Steam Deck, okay, is an amazing piece of hardware that it can run a lot of these games, even if they don't run as well as they do on like say my PC. But they can run like there's like a graphics card in the fucking like Steam Deck that's like almost like little over like 60% of the power of my graphics card on my PC. So like it's not amazing, but like games just run really well on it, and I love having the Steam Deck to play games on. Like that's how I play Pal World because I was obsessed with that for when it came out, and the DLC's coming out, and part of me is like, I should get back into it and play more Pal World. So, but we'll see what happens with the whole Nintendo thing with
Well, it's
that.
weird. That seems weird. I don't haven't really looked into it too much, but it's not like it's like a patent infringement. It's not like
Hmm.
a copyright infringement. It's a
Hmm.
patent one. So that's really odd. Like what is patented in Pal World? Like it's not
Hmm.
capturing things in balls. That's a little too vague to be patented.
And Monster,
Uh
um,
is it like
Monster.
evolving monsters at levels? Like I'm trying to think. Like
They
no.
can't patent monster capturing, especially or in balls or anything like that, because like Dragon Quest Monsters did that years before they did it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as popular. Telefang, which is the game that gets oftentimes bootlegged into Pokemon Diamond for Game Boy Color, which is also getting a remake. Also, I think came out around the time, maybe even before Pokemon, and did the whole
Mhm.
capture monster thing. Also, we live in a world where the game that everybody knows is Pokemon Diamond for Game Boy Color is getting remade.
But
Like,
like it's so weird the diamond now out of all of like why diamond now? Like why didn't they do it back when they did gold and silver? when
No,
it was
no,
relevant.
no. You don't understand. Like the game's called
Or
Telefang, and they
Crystal.
called it
No,
Pokemon.
sorry, I'm thinking of Crystal. Sorry,
Yeah, they
that's
called
my.
it Pokemon Diamond, and there's another one I think it's Pokemon Jade, and they were bootlegs of Telefang, which is another monster capturing game. But it's one that you in Japan you would use your cell phone with it because they had cell phone connectivity on the Game Boy. We didn't for some reason, but that was always branded as Pokemon Jade or Pokemon Diamond, way before Diamond actually came out in Pokemon. So, and that game is getting a remake or a remaster or something. That
Well,
Telefang
I
game.
guess the old people are going back and giving it a comb over. I guess
It's
because it's
getting a
technically a
proper
mod, right?
translation, not a really crappy one like that we
Ah,
had
okay.
back in the day, like Vietnamese Crystal, for example.
Well, but that's the thing is like there people are using AI to do that now. Unfortunately, they're not actually getting real people to do the transcribing. They're
Yeah.
just getting a robot to make dialogue and stuff like that.
I've talked about AI a few times on this podcast and how I'm not very fond of it. I don't like that it's being misused.
Yeah, I mean, it's always it's always going to be a hot button topic. I understand its usefulness, especially in my field of work. I think it's going to be incredibly important in the medical field. However, again, I am slightly concerned just about us. Like, just think about me and you for a second. We've voice acted. Our work is still on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happens when the algorithm decides, hey, there's all these videos that this guy made of Shadow of the Colossus. I'm just going to put it into the AI, and now it has a copy of my voice. So, I'm now watching a cartoon five,
Yeah.
6 years from now with my nephew, and I hear this character, and he sounds so much like me. And then I find out that his voice is an AI generation of my voice from a YouTube video.
Yeah, this is what
Like
why
that's the thing I'm scared about. Like that's
this
the
is
thing I'm scared about, that I'm going to actually hear myself somewhere that I never recorded for, or I'm going to
exactly.
say stuff.
And
Like
this is like OpenAI is facing litigation right now, and they're trying their best to get out of it. Because they say like the big thing right now is the courts want to force them to license things. And then they're like, well, we can't because if it's not free, we wouldn't be able to afford it and train our AI on it. That's the whole point of of why
yeah,
you're
like
being
you have to
why
purchase
you're
licenses to
you know
train. But
why the government is suing you because you're you're stealing
yeah, but
essentially.
then I get like a weird thing where I'm on YouTube and I listen to a song, like a country song of like a grandma dying to a guy farting, and I'm laughing, and then I read down in the comments that it was made by an AI, and I realize that I got tricked, and I'm
Yeah,
realizing
dude, there
that
was a new there was
how
a
how is that ever going to fly? Like I'm never going to believe anything anymore? Like is
dude
that
there
how I'm
was
supposed to go
there
about
was
it?
a new metal song that came up in my recommended because of course I listen to metal on my drive to work. Um, I listened to it and I'm like, hey, this song's pretty good. And then I look down, generated by AI. I'm like, this sounds like a regular ass song that someone made. It's too good now. And so that's why
But
we need this.
or are we so used to how generic certain music sounds? Like
Hmm.
there is also that avenue that I've been sort of wondering for a while. Like listening to Linkin Park again, like having Linkin Park come back, that feels weird. But
Don't
as
even get
I'm
me started
listening
on that.
to to like Heavy as the Crown, that sounds like a fucking Meteora song. Like that sounds like a song that came out of Meteora, like
Yeah.
from that age. Like it's that type of like I guess they were trying to aim for that in that style. But
Hmm.
like I was so taken back that even I was like, I feel like a kid again. I feel like I'm listening to them when I was 12, like I when they first came out.
And Sab makes a good point because Sab in my chat, she's an artist that I've commissioned several times. Guys, you should commission her.
Yes.
It's very scary for artists because a friend of mine, she goes by Norineko Games because she's also a game dev for like VNs and stuff. But she's a VTuber made gamer, Claire. She offers free assets for people to use in their games. And so another game developer said, "Hey, I could I modify this in Photoshop so it fits my game better?" And she allowed it. Well, what she came to find out is they ran it through AI without her permission. And so
Mm.
now she's had to add all these clauses on her like stuff. She's had to put it through poisoning programs so that AI currently and in the future she'll have to do it again. so that AI can't read the files and use them. Like this whole rigmarole, because she offered something for free and that wasn't enough for somebody. They still had to generate it with AI, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's a
I see.
scary
That's
time
the
right now.
thing is, I don't feel like the malicious intent is well intentional. It's obviously intended malicious. Like it has a malicious intent because clearly you're fucking with somebody's art. But like I learned somehow how to draw because I traced art. Right? Like
Yeah, people
at
learn that.
some point we do copy things and copying is important. It's just when we are trying to replace it. Like I was at a cat show the other day with my mom. We went to a cat show in our area, and there was a beautiful booth with all this beautiful art. And this, it seemed like an older woman artist that looked like she was the one that was making and drawing them. But as I picked up the card, you realize that it is probably touched up by AI. It hasn't been drawn by it. She still probably drew it, but she
And
may have not colored it, or maybe she
yeah,
didn't. She like some of her lines weren't straight, but the AI
the,
fixed it. And
the,
is that something when it's your personal work? Is
yeah,
that bad, or is
it's
that good, or is it somewhere in between?
it's a fine line, because like I think we're misusing all this AI stuff. We should be using it to assist in the process of creating, not replace the people who make the creations. And so something like that, to me, I'm still on the fence about, because I'm like, technically they drew it, but they didn't finish it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like on this in this area where I'm like, well, okay, like if I draw something and I'm a new like I'm not an artist at all, and I put it through
Mhm.
AI, is it still my art at that point? Like it's one of those things where it's like, I personally wouldn't feel like it's my art anymore. If it would have felt like somebody else did it, even though I drew the sketch or the line art or colored it or whatever. And
Okay.
so like, I don't know.
Actually, here's an interesting question because this is another interesting factor is in games like that are roguelike or roguelite. You know how they generate maps. Now, obviously, the assets themselves and the maps, the assets in the maps are hand drawn or whatever, but the actual layout that the game presents you in something like Rogue Legacy, for example,
Hmm.
is always randomized. It is
Hmm.
generated by an AI. So that level design, though every piece of the level itself, like the floor was drawn, the characters and the
Hmm.
enemies were programmed by a person and everything, but the layout itself was laid out by the AI.
See,
Do you do you consider that still my work? Because I didn't actually make the dungeon. I let an AI put all the little cells that I drew and made it into a dungeon. Now,
that's
obviously, my idea was that it would create a dungeon, so it's not too far off from what you're saying. Is use it as a creative asset rather than
like
a full blown
something like
separation.
that, like generated stuff in games. A lot of the times, excuse me, a lot of the times those are their own enclosed thing. They're not taking from other sources. That's really the big problem with AI, with people making AI art. I vomit in my mouth even thinking of it as art. Um, it's because
It
it's
is.
taking
I'm
from
sorry.
sources.
I unfortunately do believe that it is art because many pieces of recognizable art that we know are forgeries or are
Hmm.
reproductions of other people's works. Hell,
Hmm.
half the music that we listen to was ripped off from people far beyond our years, right? Like
Hmm.
the renaissance of rock and roll is really just ripping off black people and their music. Like
Let's
that's
not
what
go
we
into
have to
this any
realize.
further, please.
I know, I understand, but like that's where we're at. That's how this goes. That's where it is. So we need to have
There's
that
there's
fine thing by saying something isn't artistic. Well, you'll pull back every single layer, and then somebody will say, "Well, nothing's artistic because somebody
there's a
drew a
big
stick figure once on a wall."
there's a
You
big
know, like
difference there's a big difference between inspiration and outright theft. And the first thing I could think of when you said what you said was like Super Freak and MC Hammer's Hammer Time song. Like it's the same bass line. Yes. and
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that was duked out in the '80s when that song came out. But
Yeah.
I think what it comes down to like is like the game I'm working on right now has inspirations from the main character is a detective. Her name is Melissa, and it's the game is partially inspired by a failed sequel to another game that Rosin made. They were going to make actually on the Wii U, which apparently
Okay.
VNs are easy to make on the Wii U, so that was a thing, or at least easier to port. But it's also inspired by other things, like yeah, like people when they see the game will obviously see, yep, you got inspirations from Kamen Rider Double because it's the detective one, and yeah, okay, that's true. But the character's also inspired by my my cousin who is a detective for the OPP.
Mhm.
Like that's like that was the main inspiration for the character. Yeah, there's other inspirations coming from other things, but like one of the characters is uh is a Gyaru character, and of course it was inspired by other things, but mostly it was inspired by one of my partners and something like that. So it's one of those things where it's
Mhm.
like
But that
that's
inspiration
different.
comes from, and that inspiration comes from something. So that's why I can never fully disregard the idea that just because a robot, like a non-sentient robot created it, like once this AI is able to think and feel like a human, is it not art then, right? So we have to like, this is the thing, it's the procedural generation of art as a medium. Instead of it creating something new, it is deriving work like we do, but it's capable of doing it at a superhuman level. Whereas it would take me years and years to copy Akira Toriyama's art style. And even then, I wouldn't be perfect at it. But an AI can be, because it's able to go into the pixels and
And
get down to the very minutia of how he stroked his pen and other things.
and that's the big thing, like because AI will never have inspiration. AI is always just going to take, and that's the biggest difference. So
But if we're basing AI off of ourself, right, an artificial intelligence, an intelligence that mirrors our own, aren't we just self-defeating? You're self-defeating yourself in that statement. That's all
no,
I'm saying, right?
not really, because there's a difference
Because
between
humans
just
do the
stealing
same
something.
thing.
Oh,
They just
humans
don't do
do.
it as fast. They just
Humans
don't do
do.
it as fast. That's the
Humans
only
do.
problem
They
right now.
no. The problem is there's no human element to it. Like I said before, like you can be inspired by something and make your own thing with that inspiration. AI does not. It only takes. And so yes, there are humans who do that, who do trace and do just take things and repackage it as themselves. But like if we're gonna say it's because humans do it, AI should be allowed to do it too. That's no.
But that's the
That's not
thing,
even
is
in
we're
the thing.
creating the AIs with us as its base, right? This thing is thinking like a human. It's not thinking like Zordon from Power
But
Rangers.
what
It's
S
we are designing it to look at human art and reproduce human art.
but
So, but
it
that's the thing.
can't do
Yes,
the
I
other.
understand that it's looking at our art and reproducing and remaking something either out of bits and pieces or using a certain art style. Like Picasso's art style can be mimicked by multiple different people.
Of course you can.
And if a human draws it and makes a copy, as long as they don't sell it, we're okay. It's the same, obviously, when it comes to AI. Is it bad that people create art with it? Yes, to a certain degree, but what about flutes? The flute doesn't make the music. It's the human that puts the notes into the flute, right? It's the same thing with the art, and the same thing with all different types of media. And I think what's happening is we're getting crunched by the fact that people are trying to find easy ways out, and we're trying to say that time is more important than the actual art itself. And that's what's happening.
I don't
Is
think it is. It's
AI is absolutely too fast. And that's why people hate it, because it is. It's too fast. It's too dumb. It's too dumbed down. Because if I wanted to copy something, Zero, as the individual that I am, I'm not that artistic. I am a theater kid. You know that. You know I've always been more of that theatrics. I'm not an artist. But an AI could create something that I could use as a theatrical person. But that's bad because then I'm robbing some real person of something. And that is what we're arguing about, not on whether or not it's art. It's the fact that people are being robbed of their livelihoods. That's what we need to talk about rather than arguing on whether or not the AI is producing art. No, it is. It is producing art. Whether you think
say
it's
it is
good or
I don't
not,
agree
that's
with
subjective. That's objective. Again, art's
we can
objective.
agree to disagree on that.
You know, like you could draw a stick figure and I don't think you're an artist. But some people would say, no, they're an artist because they drew that stick figure in a unique way. And that's just that. It's their art. It's how they express themselves. And that's I guess where I'll leave my side of the argument. I do understand where you're coming from. I mostly agree with it, but I can never deny the fact that just because like a computer touched it, even if it was just like to redesign something or to like shift perspectives or something, like when is it too much? When is it like not enough artist and too much AI? And this is why I say we should argue about time, not about the art, on whether it's art or not. And that's my final point. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I think the main thing, and this is the final point I'll say about it, is if you were doing it to say, I don't know, for something personal, like you're doing a D&D game and you're creating a character and you're not an artist and you don't know what you want your character to look like, and it's just for your own personal game, it's not going to be broadcast, you're not going to monetize or whatever, that's fine. The moment you start monetizing something like this AI art stuff, that's because of a problem. Because probably comes to no one's surprise, I follow some NSFW accounts on Twitter, and they started making their own Patreons for AI art, and I had to say no thank you to that. I had to start jumping away from those. That's the part that's fucked up, because that's literal stealing and trying to sell it. If you're doing something for it's just personal thing, I don't care if you use AI. I really don't. But like,
what would you say to an artist that drew their work for 10, 15 years, and then they decided to upload their entire catalog to a personal AI that would then continue to create works for them?
This is the
do you think that's wrong?
So this is actually happening. So you remember the show Undergrads?
Yes.
The movie has been in development hell forever. So the original creator of the series took an AI that was closed, and he drew all the different, for example, he's working on knits right now. He drew all the faces and expressions and stuff of knits, and he ran it through an AI because instead of making the show 2D, they're using 3D models to make a 2D show. So he's using 3D models that he's putting a texture that was created by this AI generated thing over it so that it looks 2D. Now, it's not perfect, obviously, because he has to go back and redraw mouths and stuff. But the reason they're doing that is because they couldn't get enough funding to get a studio to want to animate the show. So he's doing it in the movie. So he's doing it himself now, like he did back when the show was available. The only difference is he doesn't have money from MTV coming in for it. He has to take what he has and do it. And so I'm really on the fence with that, because I'm like, okay, he's using it in an enclosed environment. He's not uploading it into, the cloud or whatever the fuck that the AI uses.
For his personal project.
It's for his personal project. But
with his art.
Right? It is his art. And so part of me is like, okay, that's the way we should do it. We should use it to assist in the process of creation, not take from other people's creations to make a creation. That's basically what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The problem is I'm still weird about it, because I'm like, I know you can't afford it, but that could be somebody's job too. That's the thing too. And I'm like, I don't know what's right about that. Like, as much as I want to see this Undergrads movie happen, because it's been in development hell for like 5 years at this point, because they couldn't secure enough funding to get somebody to like a studio to animate it. And he's doing it himself now, and it is what it is, but it's like, I still don't know how I feel about that. This is gonna be a wait and see how things play out as time goes on. So,
it's a new tool. It's always going to be one of those weird things.
Like,
I remember when Photoshop. Remember when Photoshop?
I was just about to say that people made the comparison. They're like, "How is this any different than doing stuff in Photoshop?" And I'm like, "Well, I can see where people are making the comparison, but there's stuff that's
So
like it's
have you
different.
seen
There's
what
something
people can
different.
do in Photoshop now, though? Like, that's the thing. Is like they
Hmm.
can make images that look like
Adobe
crazy,
is under
crazy
fire
real.
for this right now because anybody who subscribes to them, they basically Adobe says they own their
Yes.
creations.
Well, yeah, well, of
It's fucked
course.
up.
It's like how in Disney World, like if you signed up for Disney Plus, you can't sue them
That whole
just
thing, yeah.
because. You know, like this is again legalese. It's nothing to do with the creations or the creators. It's all the legal side of things that gets all fucked up.
Hmm. I think though I'm at the I don't like
Excuse
it,
me.
but I'm gonna wait and see and what happens with this because now that we have like legal proceedings about this, now we're actually gonna see like what is a legal definition of it. So
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I'm glad that we can have
It
these
is.
types of conversations though,
Hmm.
because they are important. Both sides, unfortunately, do need to be heard in this because,
Hmm.
yes, people's livelihood are being absolutely put in jeopardy. Like, big companies love to see this because it takes two things and makes it better. It
Hmm.
takes away the human expense. Remember, they don't call us employees anymore. They call us a human expense. And it makes it so they can get it quick.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
those two factors makes a business cream their pants every time. Efficiency. This is me and my friends used to joke when I worked at Jumbo Video. Our Asian boss, she was a beautiful, wonderful woman, but her accent came through, and we always used to call it efficiency and efficiency. When the boss is around, we do things efficiently because that's the way the boss wants it done. But then there are efficient ways of doing things because we as the employees are the ones that are in the trenches all the time, so we'll do it then. But you remember, you never do it the way you normally do it when the boss is around. And she knew it. She knew exactly what we meant when we joked about it. But we could have those things because we had a private boss. I work at a corporation that is run by the government now, and
Hmm.
everything is dotted I's, crossed T's. And
Hmm.
if you don't follow that, there is reprimands. But because we're so low staff, there's so much rampant ridiculous.
Hmm.
And we just don't have nobody to replace. There's just no one. There's not enough trainees.
Hmm.
And who wants to join the medical field when we're all taken advantage of?
Yeah. My
Except
mom worked in it.
unless you're a foot,
My
yeah,
mom worked in it for
unless
40
you're a foot
years.
specialist.
Yeah,
Damn,
my mom worked in
I
it for
should have
40
gone
years in
into foot
radiology.
specialty.
Oh, don't. Now people are going to want your feet pics.
Oh god, no, no. See, that's the thing. I touch their feet. Do you want me to touch your feet?
I made a feet pics tier on Blue Twitch as a joke. There's no content. Nobody subscribe to that, please. It's a joke. I should actually just
I don't
remove
know.
it.
I've seen your booty socks. I've seen Twitter booty socks. I've seen feet pics
I
from
thought you
you.
don't use Twitter anymore.
I don't now, but back when you were first starting out and your channel started not safe for working me in the middle of fucking the waiting room, I had to put you on mute for a while because
I just tell
there
all
was
my
there
close
was just
friends.
so
I just tell all
many
my close
things.
friends before they knew me before I started doing NSFW stuff. Just put me on mute,
Yeah,
please.
but did you have to use your main Twitter account for it?
Yes. It all. I was just like, I didn't want to separate it. And then people were like, "Can you make a non-18 plus one?" I'm like, "No, I only want
Yes,
people who are over the age of
please.
18. I only
It
want
doesn't matter.
adults following me and watching
Don't
my
worry. Those
content."
fucking 14-year-olds are there. They've
I have
always been
said
there.
for years on my YouTube
Zero.
channel,
You do
18
understand one of
only.
our longest lasting friends. His name was Harusoul. Remember Harusoul 1? He was 13 when he like came across our
So,
videos when
can
we
you
were in our
not?
20s.
Can you not do this to me right
No, I
now
am
live
doing
on
this.
Twitch?
It's like you have to understand that that's this is the demographic. YouTube is between the ages of 14 and 25. That is the people that watch this platform. So every single time you go on and post your boobies everywhere, your 14-year-old kids are seeing them.
Well,
Because it's the internet.
I make
That's
it
because it's
very
the
clear
internet.
no minors, and if they see it, well, it's not my fault.
Yes, exactly. That's all you can do as a content creator is you put up the bulletins.
This is why if you want to see the content on Blue Twitch, you gotta follow me to see even the free stuff
There you go.
because if you don't have an account, you ain't seeing it. That's basically the way I put it. But anyways, before we wrap it up here,
Someone has to put you on blast for this, by the way. Someone
could you not do it when I'm live though? Like that's the like. There's been a couple of times tonight where my eyes twitched and be like, please don't say that.
I will. You know who I am, Zero. You invited me here.
Yeah, but I don't want to get banned.
Banned? How is this bannable? How is this banned?
Man,
I was talking.
I'm not even going to get into this right now. Let's just move on because it is starting to get late. This is one of the longer podcasts. We've gone over 2 hours, which is
we haven't talked in ages. Dude.
Yeah,
that's why.
And that's where. And so the next thing I wanted to focus on was people always ask me about you, like all the time. They ask me about you, like what you're doing and whatnot. And to be honest, I haven't really known much because we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk. It's the first time in a long time that we have. But I think one of the biggest questions I get, and this is one I want to ask you, and sorry if I'm putting you on blast at this time. Do you have any inkling to come back and do content creation, or are you pretty much at this point, I'm done, I've done it all?
See, I would never want to say I'm done. That's probably the best way of putting that. I never want to say never again. That just doesn't seem like me personally. But if you were to ask me if I have anything that I want to say right now or to create, that's difficult. That's the actual difficult thing to say, right? Like maybe, yes, I would like to create stuff. I would probably like to stream, but at the same time, I don't know whether it's something like, yeah, I could do it as a hobby. That's fine. That's cool.
I basically do it as a hobby, but get paid on the side because of things.
But like, it is another avenue that I have to put a lot of my time and effort into. And
exactly,
I unfortunately, like I feel terrible that I don't even spend enough time with my 14 friends. Like I've neglected you guys, for crying out loud. So like, imagine like the people that I normally hang out with. I'm trying my best to stay in that group.
And
so
I'm not.
And I'm not. Like, no. I actually want to talk about this because I think this is very important because we're all sort of facing this right now in a weird existential way. Is when I started playing 14, I had a specific group of friends. So I hung out with you guys, and I was always transient. And when I had to divide my attention between one or the other, I found that it was easy just to either fall into one or the other. I obviously prioritized 14 originally, and then when I fell out of the original friends group that I was with, I didn't have anybody. So I actually kind of fell back in with you guys for a while, and that's why I was hanging out with you. Like, I still have great memories with Unreal and us playing Far Cry 5, doing all that Far Cry 5 stuff. And I've always felt very as a transient member of the River City Gamers rather than being like a staple. So it always felt comfortable to not always be around. But again, that is a problem that we all seem to have. Is it's not that I think that I'm a detriment to you or that I'm going to, upset an apple cart or whatever. It's, wow, I've just had a long day at work. I want to play a game. I want to play with my friends, but a lot of them, especially now, they do the content when it's available, but I can only do it when I'm available, right? So I've had to, I can't raid with my normal raid group anymore. I have to just go out and pog, right? I have to do a pickup party or a pickup group. And that can be a wonderful experience or a terrible experience.
Pog's in the chat, please.
But that's the thing is I find myself as a gamer having to hop back and forth. I want to play games with my friends and want to, but not everybody is into that. And every time I hop back into another friends group or look back, you're like, oh shit, everybody's playing this right now, but I don't own that. And then I buy it, and then the next time I come back, everybody's off of that or whatever, right? So you never want to, I don't want to jump into stuff like that as well. So it frightens me to hop in and to get excited about something, because if I lose those that like week that a group of friends is doing something, it can feel like I'm
Hmm.
just out of the loop.
You
You
get
know, and
you.
if I don't want to sit down and watch television when I get home, I want to play a video game. But like
It
some
sounds like
people
there's a
just
little
want
bit
to
of.
watch stuff.
It
You
sounds
know,
like there's a little bit of like FOMO in there, like, and
a
I
little
feel
bit.
that all the time. I feel
I
that all the
definitely
time.
say that.
I
Like
feel
I
that
would
all the time
definitely
too.
say that.
I'm trying to get better at it because, especially like being and again, like the viewers know, but maybe you not know. Like I'm polyamorous. I have 4 partners, and so
Mhm.
sometimes I do feel a little bit of FOMO when I don't get time with them. But we're all busy people. Like, Sky works an opposite shift of me. Like she works night shift, and the only time I get to see her is like Mondays when we do our collabs, which is fine. Like I'm not complaining, but like that's just one example. So it's like I understand that where you're coming from in that instance. Like where
Mhm.
do I spend my time? So
Yeah.
and like let me just say this: I wasn't
And
coming at you
it's
being
and
like,
the problem actually is it's so much easier to spend my time by myself because I don't have to like I mean obviously I'm me around you but I'm still putting on my CJ. I'm still being the happy-go-lucky sporadic silly guy that I
as long
am
as you're
but
not that
yeah.
weird multi-dimension one that was from my one review who likes to
I've
play
had
with
multiple.
blue.
I mean, there's also Reginald's in there somewhere.
Oh
Don't
my
ever forget
god,
the Reginald
Reggie.
Hogsworth the fourth is in there somewhere. But like those characters have always been important. Like being CJ is important to me, but I don't want to always have to put on because I'm at
Mm-hmm.
work and you have to put on a brave face for a lot of people a lot of times. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty rough. So when I get home and like I enter a chat with a bunch of people that it's either loud or I don't know what it is. It's just to
Mm-hmm.
feel, yeah, you like I feel like I'm left out, but at the same time I don't want to impose either because it's I'm clearly not in the know,
And I think
and
another
people
thing is,
try to involve me in those types of things too, and it's not as if there's a lack of trying, right?
and
Like my friends are trying their best and I'm
yeah,
trying my best and you want to be better for them.
and I think one thing in particular that I can just put, the times that we got to spend in person, like, is a lot different than what we do with our stuff online. Like, obviously, online is where we met, and that's how where most of the way we communicate is. But like, when I'm coming to visit you, or you come to visit me, or whatever, like yeah, we'll probably record some stuff, but that's not an obligation. I'm like, I'm just here to I'm here to hang out with you, and we've scheduled that time to hang out. It's not a like,
Mhm.
what are we doing tonight
Well,
kind of
those
thing. You know
moments are
what I mean?
special though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I I will go back to our X4 playthrough because that was at a time in my life when like it was probably the very first what I want to consider my dark period, like where I had like when I was depressed. And you pulled me out of that during that time in 2013 when we did that. And
Dude,
every time I go back to that X4 playthrough, I realize on how much of our friendship is completely visible in that. If people
yeah,
were
we
to
have a
actually go
record of
back
our
and
friendship.
like it is so crazy that if you guys listen to us now and then go back and listen to us then, you would be so surprised on how similar we sound. It is I feel so comfortable around you, Clay. It does show those things. And as long as I can continue feeling those things even if 5 years pass, I think that that is a win on our front.
Dude, the
And it
two
doesn't matter if it's been 5 years.
I gotta say too, the two most reference things for me for power plays is when Bill and I lost our minds playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and pants. Like,
Fucking pants.
people don't understand pants, and I try to explain it. And I'm like, you guys just have to watch the video. I can't explain this.
I don't just goddamn pants. We were bad. We were really bad at
I
that,
was
to be
so
fair.
mad. Oh my
We were
god,
so
pants,
bad.
dude.
But like Family Feud was like and I think that those specifically because those were live, because we were right next to each other, the initial like the quirkiness of us looking across from one another and knowing that like you just let out a disgusting fart and I'm just gonna have to like live with it for the next 30 minutes or like I say something quippy and I catch you in something and you just give me
Oh
that
god.
stank face, like it's those moments like those are memories that we have like my apartment. I will always remember that stupid fucking video we shot in my apartment, like those things are always going to be there. Hell, looking at my cat. Like, do you realize that I've had Kaluna for 12
I was gonna
years?
ask you about Kaluna. If Kaluna's still doing well.
Yeah, yeah. She's an old girl now, though.
Nico's
I
old now
ain't gonna
too.
lie.
I went to
Yeah.
visit my folks. Dad wanted to replace the tires on my car to get winter tires. I have an SUV now, by the way. Um,
Ooh.
and I went in the house, and Nico's 15, and he's getting up there in age, but like can still get up on the couch, and
He
he's
was a
still working.
rotund boy. I'm quite surprised
He
he's still
lost
ticking.
he has lost a ton of weight because he's a thyroid problem,
Ah,
and so he takes an old man pill twice a day, I like to call it. So when my folks go out of town, I have to go and give him his old man pill. I always tell Chat that, and I'm like, sorry guys, got to end stream, I gotta give my cat his old man pills. And so yeah, so he's lost a ton of weight because of that. And he's still kicking. He's looking as good as he looked when he was like 6. So
okay, that's pretty good.
he's old. He has arthritis. His teeth hurt all the time, but he's still
Oh,
kicking around. He's probably got at least a few more years left in him. Like I
mhm.
like to say that like when my mom retired, which was like a month after my brother and I left, he retired. So they're living their retirement together. So
Mhm.
but no, yeah, I meant to ask you about Cluna because
Yeah,
I was
no,
like, I
she's
haven't
still
seen
ticking
Cluna.
around. Yeah, no, she's a Tonkinese. She'll probably live for, another 5 years or so, as long as I treat her right and with respect, as she looks at me with
Yeah,
the disdain of a cat,
and,
most scorned.
Blondie, that's the thing. Like, even though Rolly's gone, he will be remembered.
Oh,
Like,
I'm sorry. Sorry to hear
Cluna's
that,
gonna
though.
be remembered. I was lucky because I went to visit Blondie last year, and it was like a month after I visited that Rolly finally passed. So
Oh,
a
you
month
got
or
to see
two.
him. Yeah.
But yeah, he's still the same old cat, just sitting on his bag. But I think like if it sounds like to me like if you guys want to see CJ, I'm gonna have to visit him. We're gonna have to play some Family Feud, or CDI, or Mega Man
I mean,
X70.
I can always come down to you too. Like, there's no
I mean, I
there's
would like you
no
to see my house.
dichotomy of that.
The only problem is the house is a little like it's a little tight, but we do have a futon that turns into a bed, so you're
Are
welcome
you
to stay with
still
us.
living with the same roommate, or have you
Yeah,
roommates?
me and Starfield or Bill still live together. We also
Okay, yeah,
have 2 more roommates as well, but
gotcha.
they live in the
Yeah,
basement
no.
part. We whatever. But yeah, no, our house is
I
kind
see
of
where that
nerds.
relationship is.
Our house is kind of nerd central right now. So we've set up our living room. There are 4 TVs in our living room. 2 are CRTs. 2 of them are HD TVs. One of them's like an old Sony Bravia, like 40-inch, that like has a million connections on the back, and that's why it's in the living room because you can plug anything into it.
Oh, perfect.
So like if you did want to visit, you'd have a place to sleep. It would just be in the living room. That would be the only thing. So
Ah, man, I've slept on all types of weird shit. Trust me, when I went during the height of COVID, there, like, I slept at the hospital. Like, I slept on the floor, dude.
oh man, I was so
Things
worried
were
about you
bad.
during that era. Like I was
Things
so
were
worried
so
about
bad.
you. And the
Yeah.
communication, we had like barely any communication then, so I was like, "Oh my god, I feel so bad about what's going
Mm-mm.
on
No,
there."
I had hardly any communication. Like, one of the things that I did do is I actually got to go to one of the Aboriginal reserves for about 3 weeks, and we did a lot of administration and care there. Me and a nurse and another nurse and a doctor. Though I'm fairly sure the doctor and the other nurse used it as a excuse to hook up. That's another story.
Whatever.
That's another story. But I mean, that was probably the most interesting experience. I've never been to an Aboriginal reserve before, so it was eye opening on how interesting their culture is very similar to ours, but they definitely have, like, being called a junior shaman always felt weird. It's not That's not my title, but they called me an apprentice because they saw me as the assistant to the shaman. So I was an assistant shaman. It's so
Assistant to the
weird.
regional manager, which is a song by the
Why
Devil
don't
Wears
call me
Prada.
that?
Um,
Please don't call me that. I'm not qualified like that.
it's a Devil Wears Prada song. That's why I said it. But yeah, no. So I think it sounds like if you have an idea, you'll do it. But otherwise,
Mhm.
like people shouldn't hold their breath for
Like
new
I was
stuff.
mentioning, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I have been sort of working on a side project. I've been writing a story, one that is specifically about my 14 friends and their crew. I've always loved writing fan fictions and other things like that, and I decided that I was going to create an RPG out of it.
Right.
Sort of like an homage and a thank you to my friends. So I have been sort of working on that. I don't know if there's ever going to be a proper release of it.
I better
It's just
fucking
one of
not be
those.
the fat chocobo. I swear to God.
It won't. It won't be. It won't be. No, this is. I wanted to take this story incredibly seriously. Actually, this is it is a personal
I could
story
see you doing
for
that
a
as a
lot of my
cameo to
friends.
me, just to fuck with me, though.
Oh yeah. No,
But
no. You go down in history as the sim that slept with the entire neighborhood. You will
it's
never get away from that from me. Every time I play The Sims 4 and I add you to the game, you have to fuck half the neighborhood. It is so crazy.
it's almost like
I don't
Sims predicted
understand
things.
why.
I remember you told me
It
that you're like,
predicted your poly. It understand. It knew. It
you
knew.
you
The
told me
game
you're
knew.
like. I remember you told me the first time you're like I can't make you stop getting people pregnant. I'm like, what?
What the hell, dude? I don't even play as you. Just
Oh my
leave you in the
God.
corner thinking you'll be safe. But
That's my
no.
lore. That's my lore. I just get everyone
That's your Sim
pregnant in The
4 lore.
Sims.
Yeah.
You know how people say they KYS in Minecraft? That's my thing. I
Exactly,
get
buddy.
people pregnant in The Sims. Sim Zero gets on Nazi for a clip.
And you know, with the latest update, actually with the latest update of The Sims 4, you can actually have poly relationships in it now. It used to be like you got locked into the dichotomy of either, like any marriage just had to be either one adult sim, but now you can have multiples and all that type of stuff,
It's
non-binary and all that. It's
the
great. Actually, I think The Sims is doing a fantastic job of its
we're
inclusivity.
there more and more poly representation is happening, and it makes me happy because so many people like on the outside it's a weird thing. People are like, how does that work? Like,
Mhm.
because most people are mono and they're like, I don't know how I could have more than just one partner. And it's like, I just tell people it's communication. It's
Mhm.
communication. You have to communicate. If you can't communicate, you can't handle more than one person. That's all I'm saying. And even just one person, you have to communicate. So I don't know.
I mean,
That's my thing.
as a question, as someone that doesn't fully get it, like,
Mhm.
are you sharing yourselves amongst your other polys, or are you exclusively with one or like a couple of them, but they're not with each other
So
either?
so
It's and
so
I'm very interested in that because it's always
so
been very odd about polys.
so two of them are together with me as well, and we're all together in
Okay,
one group. The other ones are don't interact with the other ones really.
okay.
They're just have me as whatever, but they understand that I have those other relationships, but that they knew that getting into it. So, um,
Because like that's where I feel the communication as someone that's mono, right? I would say the communication would break down if the other person wasn't involved. Like if I was in two relationships,
Mhm.
right, and everybody was copacetic, I would still feel weird because the other two aren't in a
Mhm.
relationship with one another. I want that thruple, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the old term thruple.
Right.
And it's funny, like
I'm sorry, I don't mean to use a bad
no,
term if
no,
it's
no.
derogatory or
It's not
anything
a
like
bad
that.
word, but it's funny. One of their wives called it a thruple with us, which I thought was funny.
Like
They're
because
like,
it's difficult because I
mhm.
never would want someone to feel left out, but that's not what the relationship is always about, right? It's about you with that person and your connection with them
The,
and knowing that that's special
and so
and
it
being
can
safe and knowing that that's special.
and it can work. There are relationships I've known, the people I've known that they have one person I know has three other partners. They live with them, but the other partners are involved with him. They're not involved with each other. They're just roommates of the other ones at that point. So,
Mhm.
but they have because they have an open communication to say to decide what they're going to do. They make everything out in the open so that nothing is not talked about. And if
Yeah.
there's a problem or something, it's an open discussion. Everybody's involved, and that's really what it comes down to. Like it's like if the we're all kind of scattered right
Polly
now.
Pocket. Shut up, Blondie.
I know, I saw that and I just rolled my fucking eyes. We're all kind of scattered right now because we all have different things. Like one of them
Yeah.
lives in California and just moved to a new place and is getting overtime, so I barely get to talk to them. One of them's computer broke, so I've been communicating with them through their phone, which is works and doesn't work. You'd think by now we'd have the technology figured out, but there's still some stuff that's not figured out.
Man, I got a new phone and I've been so lazy to load goddamn Discord on it. I really need to just like spend an afternoon.
I
get
thought you
this
did. I
phone
thought the
up to
mobile
date.
thing turned on when I messaged you.
No,
Maybe it
I
didn't.
was on my PC. I was on my PC. I've never
might,
been on my phone.
You might want to because it's a good two-factor thing. If you ever forgot your password, as long as you're logged in on your phone, then you're good. Like it has all your two-factor stuff.
I know, but Clay, that takes effort.
I'm gonna
Why
fucking
doesn't
message
it
you
just
about it.
do it for me.
Do I have to do an RLM style scientist man being like, "Hello, it's me, scientist man. Here's how you log into Discord on your phone." Because I'll do it.
No. Yeah, I will. I will eventually get to it. But again, it's like that feeling. Like every single time I load something onto my phone, I feel like I'm disrespecting my value of like disconnecting from most multimedia. You know,
I get it. You just don't want to talk to me. And I'm kidding.
I wish if it was that simple, I would just fucking tell you, dude. Right? It's like, man, you know what? I just don't want to talk to you anymore. But that's not the case. It is far from it. Drop your phone in.
Yeah, don't.
Just melt it. Just get rid of it.
We're to our Red Letter Media brand now. I've been rewatching their Halloween specials. Have you watched Red Letter Media at all? Ever?
I've probably watched stuff from them, but not an avid watcher. If that's what you're asking.
Best of the Worst is just one of those things that I just like. That's how I get all my B movies. Not all of them, but that's how I get ideas for my B movies.
They're the Star Wars guys, right? Star
Mr.
Wars.
Plinkett, the Mr. Plinkett,
that.
and and be like, remember the Rebel base?
Yes,
ATST. Those guys, yeah.
The AT-ATs. Yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Anyways, there is a certain project which I'm not going to reveal. Wink, wink. That somebody in the chat might be working on. Wink, wink.
Nice.
That we did when we were all together. Wink, wink. Yeah, there we go. Top of the bottom coming soon. That's our totally not ripped off Best of the Worst series, where we watched a very, very, very bad movie about one of my favorite people of all time in terms of celebrities. Is bad.
Was it about ninjas?
And unfortunately, it was made by a Canadian company that made a CGI TV show we all loved from the 90s. At least it isn't AI. You are not wrong.
I'm not wrong. I know. I know what you're talking
wrong.
about. Beasties. And I don't care. It's not Beast Wars. It is Beasties.
I say
Canadian.
both. They should, because they
Now
aired
we're
it as
Canadian.
both here. So
yeah, they kind of did. It's
no,
still
they
Beasties.
totally did, dude. Anyways, I'm not getting in an argument about a title of a Transformers show.
I don't give shit.
Couldn't
handle the furry.
But yeah, no. So, I guess what I'm gonna have to do is I'm just gonna have to plan a drive out to your place.
Shit.
I also, oh god, I just remembered something. I might have accidentally ordered McDonald's to your house once by accident.
You know. Was it 2 years ago? That was not 2 years ago.
It was a couple of years ago, because I had changed my address to your place when I ordered food one time, and then I went to order food one night, and I'm like, "Where the fuck is this?" And I looked, I'm like, "Oh no!" I was like,
so that like I know this is a deep cut because I do remember finding a bag of McDonald's chilling on my front porch once, and we're like, "Did anybody order this?" No, it was just there, but we were so weirded out by it that we just threw it in the garbage. So I'm sorry, I did not eat that. I did not eat your
No,
food.
you didn't. But I was like, I was late at night, and I ordered it, and I didn't realize that it was set to your address and not mine. And I was
So
like,
that's what,
"Oh
like, yeah, you know, like
no!"
I do remember finding a bag of food. I think it was McDonald's too. You are correct.
I did. I ordered
Maybe,
McDonald's. I
maybe.
remember because I was starving. I was like, "Ah, I should just order it," and I did. And I was like,
How does Uber Eats do that? How does it decide that, you must be in said location right now, though you're clearly not?
"Yeah, I don't know why. I just wasn't paying attention." And I was like, I ordered it, and I'm like, "Wait, where's my
Yeah.
food?" And it's like,
Scott, yeah, DoorDash no jutsu.
"Oh," I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "Oh no!" I ordered it to
Yeah,
your
if I had
house.
known that, yeah, if I had known that you'd sent me food, I would have eaten it.
I was too. It was like 2 in the morning or something like that, and I was just too embarrassed to message you, be like, "Dude, I accidentally sent food to your place. You got a free meal on me." But I was just like, and it
I would
was
have,
when
I would have just like ordered the same thing for you. I just would have just sent a DoorDash for you.
no, I didn't. I didn't.
Because it would
I,
have been, I just like, you
don't
just
send
gave
me a
me a meal.
DoorDash, is what I'm saying. Don't
What are
send
you
me a
talking about?
DoorDash. But I'm
I
saying
don't know your current address. It could be your
that's
parents that get
fair.
it.
Yeah. Oh my god, don't send my parents DoorDash. They'll be so confused, dude. They don't even know how online banking works. Okay, so.
My
But yeah,
mom
no,
doesn't know
like,
how it works either, so that's fine. That checks.
but I gotta say though, there was for a long time I was buying Jane's chicken, and I always said, "Ah, it's CJ's mom's chicken."
Oh yeah, it
Every
is my
time I
mom's
bought it,
chicken.
they're our
So
favorite chicken strips.
they are.
Um,
They're so good.
but
Too
now
expensive now though.
they jacked the price up on them. When they were like
Everything is so
$7
expensive
at
because of
Foodland, I was
COVID.
like, hell yeah. But no, yeah, it's like $15 for a box of chicken tenders now. It's like fuck that. I can get the Walmart brand for like $6 cheaper. It's shrinkflation too. But
Mm.
no, like it's just I just remembered that when I was I'm like, I can't fucking believe I did that. I ordered food to your house, and that and I'm glad you didn't
Gosh, that
realize it
puts
was
more.
me.
No, well, that's the thing. I had no idea. I'm fairly sure I remember getting something at the door that was like food related, and I was like, I didn't order this. I haven't ordered food at the door for like years,
This is
so it was
gonna
weird.
this is gonna be a
Like during the
clip.
height of COVID, I was ordering food, but
Oh,
that was
dude,
just because everybody was ordering food in the
dude, we're in
middle of
an
COVID.
edit. People are gonna take this at a content. Like that
Eating.
time Zero ordered food to CJ's house and he had no idea.
That's all right.
It's man,
What? 3 minutes of ads? Are you? I'm serious.
yeah, yeah. I tried. The funny thing is, when I tried to fix it, it made it worse and made it like 5 minutes, 6 minutes of ads. I'm like, no, go back to
You
what it
know,
was
as a
before.
mod, it seems like I should be able to press this snooze
You
button to
can.
make it not happen, but it
You.
doesn't. It's actually
It's because
red.
three snoozes have already been done. That's why.
Wow.
That's why I tell
Yeah,
people.
thanks, Twitch Bomber.
That's
Yeah.
why I tell the mods wait till it gets to like 10 seconds and then hit snooze because then it stretches out the time the ad gets posted. But
Yeah.
I had
It doesn't matter. It's probably better that you run the ads just because
that's
it's
how I get
sucky, but
paid. It sucks, but
yeah.
that's how I get paid. So
It's how Twitch wants to not lose any more money that it's losing every single time it
so
streams.
so sometime next year I'm just gonna have to go shack up at my cousin's place and then come
Yeah.
visit you.
A nice summer. Sometime. Oh, actually, no. Probably spring would probably be a good time to come up here.
Yeah. I do have a
You
trip I
can't
have to
come
make.
during the winter. I'm gonna be at work. That's
Oh,
just
I
gonna
know.
be holiday disgust.
Oh, I know. I would never come during the holiday
Weather
clusterfuck
outside is frightful.
or the post-holiday blues. I wouldn't come for that. I might be traveling to visit my brother in April at the tail early part of spring, so I'll figure something out there. But I definitely like. I've been thinking about that constantly. I'm like, I just need to go out there again sometime. I need to message him and see if he's cool if I come down and visit for some time. So I guess we'll figure that out at some point because I miss you so much. Oh my god.
I'm not that far away. You just
I
need
know.
to talk to
Thankfully,
me.
you're not.
Yeah.
And
I'm
and
not
you know,
that far away, and you just need to talk to me, and I'll stick my head outside of the rat burrow that I live in,
and I
and
promise I
hiss at you.
won't be afraid to message you anymore. And if you don't respond to me in a couple of days, I get it. So
Just
we'll work this
I'll
out.
I'll eventually respond, and if I don't, well then just send me another message, and
Okay.
eventually,
That is
eventually I
how
see
I'm
them.
gonna
Like
treat it.
you asked, and it was like perfect timing. Or I was on at the right time, and you're just like, hey, I want to do the Hunter Base podcast. You want to come on for the 50th episode? And I was like, hell, fucking yeah.
It just
You
didn't
gave me a
feel
time.
It
You gave me
didn't
a time and
feel
a place.
right if I didn't at least ask you, because
Hmm.
even though I don't have any expectation for you to be a regular host anymore like we did when we started. Like Mr. Up here has taken over the reins basically and stepped into that spot for you. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this podcast anymore. Like he pushed me to bring this thing back, and I sat on my hands for like a year when he was pushing me to bring it back, and finally I did. And now this is the only thing he does online. Um, so
It's
like,
definitely an easy form of content. I'll
mhm.
definitely say that. Like us just sitting around shooting the shit is always fantastic.
And he doesn't let me get away with any of my shit, like just like you. So it's
Hmm.
it's very similar.
Someone's got to keep you in check. You can get up your own butt sometimes.
If it's not another fellow Canadian, it's got to be my brother from the south
Right.
in the
I
states,
actually I
Christopher
recently
Beard.
watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and there was that line of get my country's name out of your fucking mouth. It was so good, so good.
I just released my
Just
video
it
on that.
reminds me that like people forget that we Canadians do fuck hard. They just think we're all nice.
Yeah, well, I will say after being in the states, um, I hear a lot more sorries over here. If in the
Holding the door
supermarket.
is always a surreal experience. When I went down to Florida when I was staying with Johnny and Amanda, like, yeah, holding a door open for a Floridian and them looking at you like you're some sort of foreign object, that like somehow the door got opened by some sort of fictional person. Like it's like you don't exist in their eyes for a moment. It's just
Oh
such a
man.
silly thing.
Man, I'm oh, and I just remembered something. Speaking of old friends, I can't tell you on stream because it is not. It would break some kind of NDA for them. But a friend of ours has become very successful recently, and I'm very proud of
Oh,
them.
that's good. That's
And
good to hear.
I'll tell you who it is off stream, and you'll be like, "Oh, them."
Yeah, that
So
I'll be like, that makes sense.
yeah, but yeah, I just remembered because it's VTuber stuff. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, no. I'm glad we finally got the chance to talk again. And even though this is like live, like I'm still gonna make an effort to try to message you on a regular basis to talk about stuff. And even if you're busy or I'm busy or something like that, at least like we're making an effort to do that. And I certainly want to plan to come down and visit.
Hmm.
Some if not next year, sometime soon, very soon. Probably next
Oh,
year though, because
definitely.
I
I
have the
think
time
I
off.
think next year would probably be the best. I'm planning 2025 to be my sort of reinvention of myself a little bit, just to sort of get out of a lot of the old shell. Like I've built quite a let's say a defensive shell around myself
You've
again.
had it
I
rough for a bit, which is
Yeah.
understandable.
Well,
So
I call my character in 14 Steeled Heart for a reason. Like her name is important. It has
is
a
that
very big reverence to me because the idea is that a heart can be covered and steeled by the traumas that it
is
has, but you can still, it still beats and it still means something,
dude?
right?
Did you just name your JoJo stand?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it's technically not
Steel the Hato.
a Steel the Hotel, but technically that's not a band song.
Nah, it
So.
doesn't have to be or whatever. Mine's. Can you guess
Well,
mine? It's
you have to understand that Rogan, like Hellsguard
Xanax.
Rogan, and like she's named, her nomenclature is actually lore friendly. I named her because the type of race that she is, they are mountain people. They actually don't have a language; they just grunt at one another. But when they came to join civilization, a lot of them realized that, well, we don't have names in the traditional sense, so they name themselves out of things that best represent them. So like opal sky, for example. Like they have beautiful colored eyes, so it reminds them of the ever-ending sky or
There's a
whatever. Like
band.
that type
There's
of
a
stuff.
metal band called Opal in Sky.
There you go. But like seriously, Mountain Dew is a lore-friendly Roganin name in Final Fantasy 14. So Mountain Dew Hyper Blast is still technically a lore-friendly name. Just throwing that out there. But again, like I said, just put your mouth out there. I'll always be listening to your cacawing. You know how it
Definitely
is.
going to be making more of an effort. And And if you're lurking, no worries. You don't got to say anything in chat. I always,
I am, and I will still state this to this still, that I still support your Twitch stream from the very beginning you got monetization. I have never canceled that. I have given you
I've
$5
noticed.
to you every single month.
I've noticed that
since
I
had
think
it.
you're my longest running subscriber, which is going
I
to make
will
a couple of
never
people
not
jealous.
support you, my friend. You can never not feel like you will not be supported by me.
Well,
Do what you love.
that
Please.
$5 is going right into the PS5 fund because
There you go.
I have PS5 games that
It's
chat
been
wants to
enough
see.
months. How many months? Hello in chat. Does it tell me? Oh no, it doesn't see. Yeah, I'm a first. Take that. Found a 69 months, motherfucker. 69. Let's go.
Let's go. Oh
Let's
god.
go.
That has to be screenshot. I'm posting that on
That's
Twitter.
fantastic.
I'm
It's
posting
so
that on
good
fucking
to
Twitter.
see.
69
Absolutely
months.
nice.
There could have been a more better
69
time
months.
for you to be back on the podcast. It's when you get 16. Oh my god, 69 fucking months. Damn.
You can't write this shit, Zero.
You can't. You cannot.
Absolutely write this.
Oh my god. I'm print screening that shit. Fuck. And saving it for
But yeah,
later.
like I
That's
said, I will
amazing.
never stop supporting you, my friend.
Well, you know what? I appreciate it. And if you had to at some point for financial reasons, I would totally understand too.
Oh, I know. And there was a time when there could have been a time when I would have canceled it, but I said, nah, it's only $5. I don't need that bag of Miss Vickies this week.
Oh my god.
That's
just
fine.
outing yourself as a Canadian.
Hey man, 1987 is my birth year. You expecting me not to eat those potato chips?
That's fair. That's fair for sure. Before we wrap it up, guys, I just want to very quickly state what's going on. Yes, like I said before, I do have my new Monday collab is going to be the Zelda Oracle games with Kitar Princess and Almighty Kurama. And then Tuesdays is going to be whatever horror stuff I'm doing. I'm planning on doing Neverending Nightmares because I backed that game on Kickstarter and I haven't played it yet. Plus, I might be writing a video that's involved in that game and I kind of have to finish it. So that's going to be happening.
Tisk. I see the backlog of incomplete Zero projects is still firmly in that K-on's hand. Yui's good old Yui's hands.
We didn't even finish the first season of that, dude.
Isn't it great?
Oh my god. And then Wednesdays is still doing Monster Hunter with Blondie and SCR and One Roll and Tiger, whoever's free. So that's it. This game is 10 years old now, so you just say it's for its anniversary.
Anniversary, yeah. Let's get back into it.
Is it that old? Oh no. It is getting there. Oh no. I backed it on Kickstarter and I haven't finished it. That's how embarrassing.
I mean, I backed Mighty Number 9 and I've never played it. So
you're not missing anything.
I know. So
the only time you're gonna play that is if I force you to play it with me, and we'll both have a terrible time.
Yeah, so we'll both be sad that we did.
I own 6 versions of that game.
You wanted to review it.
I did, and I didn't because I was like, "This is not worth it.
Didn't.
This is not worth it." Maybe for my 20th anniversary for the review show, maybe I'll finally review Mighty Number 9. Oh my god!
Gosh, I feel so bad. Inafune just like disappeared after that.
You know what? You know what's okay? I know I'm doing a wrap up, but you know what's funny? What came out after fucking forever? The first episode of the Red Ash animated series came out in English on YouTube last week.
Somebody found it. Somebody found it.
Yeah, it got posted on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh my god, this came up in my sub feed." I was like, "What?" And I was thinking recently, I'm like, "What? I wish Red Ash would get finished. That at least, maybe they would be cool to see that." And I see this animated episode.
Weird shit. Llamas with Hats just had an epilogue that just came out. Right? Like weird things from our internet days are resurfacing.
Dude, we are fucking ancient. We're dead.
We're ancient. We are ancient relics. Dude, I go onto YouTube and look at Winslet 13. I have videos from 12 years ago. They're just a 12-year-old me. Sounding like I'm so full of hope and happiness.
Dude, fucking, oh my god. Like, don't even get me started, man. Don't even get me started. Being in the VTuber community, I'm surrounded by fucking 22-year-olds, and they don't understand any of my memes. Okay, Karama, my own partner, I'll make a joke because Sky's my age. So we'll make a joke, and they're like, "I was in 8th grade when that was." So we're like, "Stop
Yeah,
doing
stop.
that," because
Stop
she's in her
being
20s.
baby.
She's in her
Yeah.
20s, and we're in our mid 30s, and we're just like, "Please stop." So it's one of those
That's what
things.
happens. You join demographics that are starting to like they're starting to change, right? Like
Hmm.
our in like even in my group, like our group in 14, we have like a huge range variety. Like there's a couple of us that are in our 30s, but they're most of them are in their 20s. Like they're in their late 20s.
How many of them played 1.0?
No, two, two of them.
Two, including yourself?
What? What? Yes, that is including me. So, well, no, well, yes, three if including me. But like, I'm fairly sure I know one for sure that played 1.0 because we talk about it all the time. But there's another person that I think did, but they don't talk about it very often. So I think it was one
Oh
of
my
those
god.
like they probably like logged in and then realized this is not a video game and then logged off like that. But like when you start talking about Hamlets and all that type of stuff, then you
CJ,
know you're in the grit.
I just made a terrible realization. You know how you said that anybody who played 1.0 and still plays the game has like a tattoo or something on their character?
Yep.
You're a pulseless.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. Yes, I am. Because you do understand that the tattoo is a branded mark from a magic spell that Louis Soir placed
You're a
upon us.
Lassie. Get him.
Yes, he pretty much he cast a spell that threw us into the ethereal sea, turning us to crystal, and then ported us 5 years into the future, just like what happens in 13.
Oh my god.
Right? Sarah gets turned into crystal, then gets
Sarah.
then she gets transported into the future when she gets uncrystallized. And then
God,
and
dude.
then 13.2 happens, which is the best out of all of the
And
13
then
games.
Lightning returns Final Fantasy 13 to GameStop, but they won't take it.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh,
Remember,
that
Lightning died so she could be the messiah of our world.
god.
She killed God so we could have Porsche cars.
Oh, I only learned about the story of that game thanks to fucking
Oh, 13 was
Clement.
such a weird. Nomura needs to. There's something like I'm so glad that he's like he may be the director of 7, but he ain't writing it of the remake. Thank goodness
Dude,
he's not the main writer. I know he's
dude.
writing it, but like he's not the main writer.
Oh my god. Anyways, what
The
was I
guy
talking about?
writes good. Oh yeah, finish up. I'm just gonna stop talking.
No,
I,
we keep getting
as you
off
can
track.
see, I am going to aim at the wall here. You finish talking.
Okay. Now that we can't hear CJ anymore. Last thing is Saturdays is Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake. I'm on chapter 5. We're gonna start chapter 5, I promise, soon. So that's in the schedule as well. And then 16-bit winter starts next month. You guys will see what that's about soon, but I'm not gonna say what it is yet because I'm saving it. Um, and then videos come out when they're done. I got a Halloween one I'm working on. It'll be done. My YouTube channel, my review channel is so much in like I'll post whenever. So like it's still the same, guys. I'll post whenever. It'll happen. But that's it for me, for my camp. What can I what can I say at this point? Thanks for joining me for the 50th goddamn episode of
Almost
this
a
podcast.
whole year's worth of podcasts.
But I
Yeah,
took a 3-year break in the middle, and then it came back, and then
I know.
that's
The people
that's what
listening
happens.
to this like 10 years in the future while they're hoping and praying that the lights turn on, I'm sure they'll be happy that you spent your time and came back 3 years and talked to me one more time.
I always think about that, like what happens in like the next like 20, 30 years, and people see like all the old OG YouTube content that like we've produced, and they're like, that video's like 30 years old. It's like, oh god, don't remind me.
Gosh,
But
like, well, like think of the passage of time, like looking at my video game library, like, yeah, a lot of time has passed. Like, even the PS4 era, like, it was a long era. Like, there was
dude,
like 5, 6 years of the PS4, right?
dude, next year there's gonna be 20-year-old YouTube videos.
Nice. Yeah,
20 years.
2005. Yeah.
2005 is when it started. Yeah, there's gonna be a video that's 20 years old. it astounds me that that's still around and kicking, and we're still doing this stuff. Well, at least I am, and sometimes I have people
I
hop in.
think the only OG person that I still kind of watch on a more regular basis that isn't game related is Philip DeFranco.
I watch him now again too. I haven't watched him for a long
He
time,
pop
but
he pops up every now and again. I stopped watching him for a while, and then he pops up. I guess the algorithm just
I listen
reminds
to
me
him
of him.
in the car for my drive because he gives me updated news stuff. So
Exactly. I don't know. He's one of the OGs, right? I mean, like I can always point to him and say there's someone that is when I used to make YouTube videos, he was just starting.
Tab, you got to get on CJ's level. He's got 69 months.
Yeah, take that. Take that.
No one's going to beat that from you. You're going to be like the longest subscribed forever. But I love how we
I was
came
the
back.
I had the unfair advantage of being your first Patreon. Like I got the lucky streak. I think
Yeah.
me and somebody else. There's somebody
Shaming
else that
you in
also.
public. Exactly, Tab. I always do. You always shame me in public. All right. Well, anyways, like, dude, it's so good to have you here. So good to talk to you again. I'm going to make, I promise you right now, and sure chat's going to hold me to it, that I will make I will remember to regularly message you and not worry that I'm bothering you.
Yeah.
Because, and you will get back to me when you can, and
When I
I
can.
won't take it
It's
personally.
as simple as that. Like I'm not avoiding you. I am literally not getting your message until I load Discord up on my computer, and that could be 3 days from now. Like
Yeah.
I stuck a sticky note on my whiteboard to make sure that I remember that we were doing this today. Like I had this big ass sticky note that just says October
Podcast
5th,
October 5th.
0. 0. It just says 0. And it got me excited every single time I saw that sticky note. So
All right.
like that, like those things are important to me. If I get a time frame and you tell me just be here on Saturday between this time and this time, I will be so ecstatic.
After I'm wondering what your availability is first, asking for
Oh,
that
of
first.
course.
So,
But that's the thing. If you went 2 weeks in advance, I can always most likely find time. Like there's only a few days like my on call days that are difficult because I could just get randomly called in.
yeah. Hmm.
Right? Like that's the only problem. Like if I could just say I'm an on call day, you can't rely, cannot rely.
I
I've
understand
had
that.
to I had to skip tons of raids because of it.
I understand that. I may be going on call in my job soon, so that's one of those things that I'm gonna have to deal with as well. But I'll figure that out in the whatever verse. Can you tell I'm getting tired?
Well, I mean, yeah, like this, I'm wide awake because I'm normally up at this time. So
Mm.
I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm the one that's probably keeping this going.
Oh
You've been
no,
wanting
that's
to
fine.
flake out for a bit
That
and
no, that's fine.
relax.
No, that's totally fine. But listen, guys, I will see you on Monday for the stream, and you will see CJ sometime on my channel. I'm sure.
Maybe,
I'm
maybe, and
sure.
maybe on YouTube. My handle is there. You just go to
Maybe
youtube.com/CanadianJutsu.
he'll play Resident Evil 4 for the 70th time.
Well, I mean, it would have to be the remake at that point because I'm not gonna
You
replay the
have to
old
play the
game
remake.
when I need to play the new one
Okay, when you fully played the remake, let's have a full Resident Evil 4 discussion. Like
for discussion.
let's do that. And then cuz I
Because
have
I
some
know
things
it's
to say.
Leon from Resident Evil 2. Like the remake Leon is in
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
It's the same Leon.
He's older, but why?
Well,
Older, a
yes.
little wiser.
1998. How could I ever forget it? It's when those grisly murders occurred in the Arcade Mountains.
Where's everyone going? Bingo. But anyways, thanks a lot, guys.
Catch you later, bro.
There's
Love
so
that
many
line.
good
So
lines
good.
from
So
that
good
fucking
lines.
game. Oh, and I think one probably not a spoiler for you, but I think you'd be happy that the salesman, it sounds exactly the way you would expect him to from the
Good.
original.
Good for him. There's
What
no
are you
reason to
buying,
change.
stranger?
Why do you have that accent? No one else does. That's definitely not a Spanish accent. What is
man.
that? Who are
Man,
you?
British people can be in.
Why do you have guns? So many guns.
And hey, you could resell back modified stuff, which is nice. You couldn't do that
It's
in
that dog.
fucking Village. Anyways, guys, we're gonna end it here. Thanks so much for joining us. If you would like to see episodes early, please consider subscribing on Patreon. I also have a separate podcast on there that's only for Patreon. It's called The Hunter Base Undernet, where we talk about more spicy topics, because stuff that's not safe for YouTube or Twitch. So if you'd like to check that out, it's as low as $1 Canadian a month, which is I think 60 cents American. So to get in there, so join us there if you want to get early access stuff and exclusive stuff. And I'm beefing that stuff up. I know I've been slacking a little bit, but I'm beefing it up a bit. CJ, it's been a pleasure.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys on Monday.
Take care, guys. Stay frosty.
Oh, you said it. He said the thing. That makes me happy. All right. Bye.
Cheers.